added to many contributions becomes a force. Everyone will have different motivations, but the sensationalist press in other countries, even our own, wants to sell us as assassins, as if we were the worst thing that comes out of Colombia. Very bad people. It is not like that. If you interview soldiers here, the vast majority of us are good people. You wouldn't only be able to do this for money. The truth is that when you are there, under fire, money doesn't comfort you. How is it going to comfort you to have loads of money in some bank account when bullets are raining down on you? Nothing. No money will comfort you. To thrive here, you need to embrace the cause. Feel some empathy for them. Just for a salary? Nah.
To Arabe, being a soldier is more than just a way of life. It's a state of mind.
That's another point that civilians often don't understand about why we do this. It turns out that when we taste the adrenaline rush that war produces, there are very few things in civil life that can match the secretion of that substance in the brain. So that's why, even if it's very good to go out with the family and all those kinds of things, it's not going to make the brain secrete those substances, that dopamine that you generate during a war. That's why I say, for me to work in a stationery store, in an office, putting stamps there, removing staples here, stapling sheets all day? Nah, civilian life doesn't appeal to me.
After talking to many Colombian soldiers across the country, one thing really stands out. They all feel an immense sense of duty. They want to contribute to the war efforts, even at the risk of personal sacrifice. Next January, new legislation will allow for foreign soldiers to apply for Ukrainian citizenship. Arabe contemplates what the future might hold.
You feel very good here. People in this country make you feel very welcome. It's their way of being. They're very good people. They are noble. They treat us all with a lot of respect. I think I could live here and somehow I can continue to contribute by being here. After all, I was willing to give my life for this country.
Assignment was presented by me, Marco Pereira, and produced by Phoebe Keane.
That was Assignment from the BBC. I'm Saroja Coelho, and this is CBC Radio.
Magandang umaga, good morning, Manitoba. Faith Fundal here in Studio 15 at Portage and Spence. This is Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Listen app. I'm in for Marcy Marcusa for this Thursday morning, November the 13th. Lots to come on the program. We'll talk about what is going to be on the show. First, though, we're going to head to your CBC Winnipeg local news desk. Heather Wells joining us with a look at news headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, an advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls says Canada must do more to protect them from killers like Sean Lamb. Lamb admitted to the 2012 deaths of Carolyn Sinclair and Lorna Blacksmith and was sentenced to 20 years minus time served. This month, the Parole Board of Canada granted the 66-year-old statutory release, but he is ordered to live at least 6 months in a halfway house or psychiatric facility. We're going to hear more on this story through the morning. And those hoping to get a free ride on a Winnipeg bus may have to find another way to get around. The city's been stepping up efforts to combat fare evasion since September, and it says the crackdowns led to nearly 5,000 would-be riders denied in just over 2 months. We'll hear what that fare evasion cost the city coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Heather Wells from your CBC Winnipeg local news desk. And speaking of the program here, in our first hour here, we'll talk to Awad Ibrahim from the University of Ottawa about the situation in Sudan. The UN has called it the greatest humanitarian crisis in the world. We'll look at the forces driving it. Also, not just housing, it is a home. It's the concept behind a safe space for refugee women in the heart of downtown Winnipeg. We're going to hear from one woman's story of living there for 2 years after fleeing Eritrea in the dark of night. At 7:40, the PWHL is coming to Winnipeg. Well, it's not happening then, but we'll hear more about that. It is a homecoming for some players. We'll hear from a local PWHL player who never thought she'd see professional women's hockey in her hometown. Stay tuned for that conversation coming up at 7:40 right here on Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. And for Winnipeg, expecting sunny conditions today and a high of 6 degrees. For Brandon, mainly sunny as well, and a high of 7. Dauphin, mainly sunny, a high of 5 degrees. We'll give you a full look at your forecast after World Report. Stay tuned.
Today on Q.
I'm Talia Schlanger in for Tom Power. Earlier this year, the film Sentimental Value broke applause records at the Cannes International Film Festival. You will hear from Elle Fanning, who stars in the movie, about that moment and the similarities between her life and her character.
I want to try it all. It's exciting to get to experience that.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. Canadian-made weapons are being used by a Sudanese paramilitary group responsible for the massacres of civilians. Images shared by Rapid Support Forces fighters include rifles bearing the logo of a BC manufacturer. Ithel Musa has more on this exclusive story from CBC's Visual Investigations team.
I was shocked.
McGill professor Khalid Madani says the use of Canadian-made weapons in his home country of Sudan is not only troubling, it's illegal.
Not only does it violate the Export-Imports Permits Act, the Canadian legislation, but also the international law.
Photos analyzed by CBC's Visual Investigations team show members of the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary, or RSF, holding rifles with the logo of Sterling Cross Defense Systems, a company based in British Columbia. Sterling Cross says its policies align with that of Global Affairs Canada. It's not clear how their rifles got into Sudan, but Imaduddin Badi, with the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, says some experts point to the United Arab Emirates.
The UAE, according to multiple reports, has been facing allegations of supplying the RSF.
Sudan's civil war is being fought between two rival factions, the Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces. The RSF's recent capture of North Darfur's capital El Fasher has left hundreds dead and forced thousands to flee. Shahab Muhammad Ali is with Islamic Relief in Port Sudan. He says the situation is catastrophic.
The town has been under siege for the last 1 year and a half. People are starving. There is shortage of food.
Here at home, Global Affairs Canada says if laws were violated with Canadian weapons entering Sudan, it will ensure those responsible face legal consequences. Ithel Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
And to learn more about how we tracked those weapons, read the team's full report at cbcnews.ca. Prime Minister Mark Carney will be in Terrace, BC today to reveal his next tranche of so-called nation-building projects. CBC News has confirmed another project that will be on the list, the North Coast Transmission Line in British Columbia, running from Prince George to Terrace. Also, among the new projects expected to be fast-tracked, a hydroelectric project in Nunavut, a nickel mine in Ontario, and a critical minerals mine in New Brunswick. After 43 days, the longest government shutdown in U.S. history is over. U.S. President Donald Trump signed a spending bill late last night after a vote of approval from the House of Representatives. Ira Spitzer is following the story from Washington. Ira, what does this mean for all those workers who were furloughed or had to work without pay?
So things will return to normal very quickly here in Washington. In fact, many federal workers have been told to report to work today on Thursday following the end of this shutdown. So we're definitely going to see a return to work. As far as actually being paid, in the past, it's taken about a week for those unpaid workers to receive their back pay. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has said that air traffic controllers, that they will actually receive the first 70% of their back pay within 24 to 48 hours of the shutdown ending. 70,000 federal employees were furloughed during this shutdown. And then about 730,000 employees have actually been working without pay during the shutdown. So for those people, a paycheck coming very soon.
Ira, let's talk about food aid. When can Americans expect federal programs like the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program to resume?
Yeah, well, that was, of course, a major problem for those more than 40 million Americans who receive food assistance as those benefits were cut over the last couple weeks. Now, a spokeswoman for the White House Budget Office has insisted that those food stamp benefits will be restored very quickly, within hours even of the shutdown ending. We'll see how long that actually takes. But for some the other programs, it could be a bit longer, but the goal and the hope, of course, is to get things back to normal as soon as possible.
Ira Spitzer in Washington. Thanks, Ira.
Thank you.
Authorities in Iran are warning the 10 million residents of Tehran they may have to leave the capital. The country is experiencing its worst drought in decades, and with taps running dry, the scramble begins to get drinking water to those who need it most. Anna Cunningham has more.
Drinking water from a roadside fountain in Tehran. The authorities are asking people to save water. It's clear that this crisis is very serious, says Fardin Hadavand. He has seen demand rise at the water tank shop where he works. Hopefully it will rain, he says. This is Iran's 6th year of drought. The capital depends entirely on 5 dams fed from rivers outside. They are running dry. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has warned of rationing, and if there is no rain by November 22nd, he says they must evacuate Tehran.
It's drying up. It's almost dead.
Looking at satellite images of Iran from Toronto, Iranian Ave Madani is alarmed. He is the director of the United Nations University Institute for Water, Environment and Health.
So far it has been also much drier than usual. No rain happening across the whole country, and this is new to Iran.
He says this is not just about changes to Iran's climate.
The issue of mismanagement is real. A problem like this was not created overnight.
The stakes are high for Iran's clerical rulers. Previous water shortages have sparked violent protests. In a country where the economy is under pressure from international sanctions linked to its disputed nuclear program, rain is desperately needed. But there is hardly any in the forecast. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
France is marking a grim anniversary today, 10 years since a series of coordinated terrorist attacks. A day-long commemoration begins at the Stade de France just outside of Paris, where the first victim, Manuel Diaz, was killed.
On nous dit de tourner la page 10 ans après.
We're told to turn the page 10 years later, but the absence is immense, says Manuel's daughter, Sophie Diaz, outside the stadium. The ceremony moves to Café Terraces in the 10th and 11th arrondissement, and then finally the Bataclan Concert Hall. 132 people were killed, hundreds of others injured during the attacks on November 13th, 2015. Victoria, the first state in Australia to sign a treaty with Indigenous people into law. Advocates are calling it a major step towards reconciliation. The treaty establishes a permanent First Nations representative to provide advice to the state government, and it creates an accountability body that will ensure the government upholds its commitments. Reuben Berg is co-chair of the First Peoples Assembly of Victoria.
To my mind, we sat there as equals to sign that document. That is fundamentally about what this process has been about recognising our equal status to be able to sit at that table. We will get from this not just better outcomes for First Peoples, better outcomes for Victoria, better outcomes for Australia.
Australia has roughly 1 million Indigenous citizens. They track well below national averages on most socioeconomic measures. The Northern Lights are gracing Canadian skies over BC, the Prairies, the Territories, and parts of Northern Ontario and Quebec this week. And if you've been lucky enough to catch the nighttime show, you may have noticed it's exceptional this time around. CBC's Emma Zhao tells us why.
This is a really good time for it.
Scott Young, astronomer with the Manitoba Museum in Winnipeg, says the auroras have been brighter than usual. He He says the solar cycle might have something to do with it.
The energy from the sun that drives the northern lights varies over about an 11-year cycle, and we're kind of at the top of that. So we've been seeing quite a bit of northern lights over the last year or so, and probably for the next year.
Frank Florian, Senior Manager of Space Sciences at the TELUS World of Science in Edmonton, says the recent auroras were uncommonly red. That has something to do with the particles from the sun, which excite gas molecules in the upper atmosphere, giving off the warm hue. Florian says they were also uncommonly large.
The auroral oval is further north, but when you get these really strong events, that auroral oval moves further towards the south. And in fact, this auroral oval stretched as far down as being able to be seen from Florida and Texas and even some places in Mexico.
For those who want to catch a glimpse of the northern lights while they're still big and bright, Florian recommends visiting rural areas away from light pollution. Emma Jaw, CBC News, Edmonton.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. Remember, for news anytime, go to our website, cbcnews.ca. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Magandang umaga, good morning, Manitoba. Faith Fundal here in Studio 15 at Portage and Spence, along with Abby Adiemi, Corey Funk, and Darren Morash. This is Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. Coming up in this hour of the program, not just housing, it's a home. The concept behind a safe space for refugee women in the heart of downtown Winnipeg. We're going to hear one woman's story of living there for 2 years after fleeing Eritrea in the dark of night. That's coming up at 6:40. After that, Prime Minister Mark Carney wants to invest in Canada's future, as you've been hearing on World Report, but economists have mixed feelings about what his plan to fast-track nation-building projects might actually mean. First, Play It Forward, a community fundraising event with the hopes to ripple back into the South Osborne community. We'll have that conversation next year on Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. Stay tuned. First, though, let's head to your CBC Winnipeg local news desk, and Heather Wells joining us now. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs and Manitoba Keewatin Okanagan say they are outraged. A national advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and their families is deeply concerned. They're talking about Sean Lamb's release from prison. He admitted to the 2012 deaths of Carolyn Sinclair and Lorna Blacksmith and was sentenced to 20 years minus time served. The Parole Board of Canada has granted the 66-year-old statutory release. He is ordered to live at least 6 months in a halfway house or a psychiatric facility. We'll hear more reaction coming up. And the owner of a private rail port in southern Manitoba wants to know why the province provided an $18 million grant to help start a rival business. Those stories and more in our next news at 6:30.
All right. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Heather Wells from your CBC Winnipeg local news desk. Back here in Control Room 15, Abby Adiemi following the weather today.
Yeah, good morning, Faith. How you doing?
It's nice.
Did you make it to see it last night? Do you know what I'm talking about? The IT?
Yeah, I did not get to see, 5 years now, almost 5 years living here. I still haven't seen it. And really, it was my fault because I had 2 opportunities to do it, and I still have not done it. But you know what? Lots of folks sent in photos, including coworkers. So I think you saw it too.
And the good thing is, this 11-year cycle still continues, so there's a chance you will catch it somewhere in between. And for talking about conditions for today, it's going to be another bright and pleasant day across the province. Sunshine will spread through the south, and we're going to be seeing more like that colder setup build up in the north. Just checking the updates right now as at last night into this morning. We still have a special weather statement in effect for parts of northern Manitoba. And this is stretching all the way from Thompson, Linley, Gillam, all the way towards Churchill on the Hudson Bay coast. We're looking at about 25 centimeters of snow expected to come your way from Friday morning into Saturday. So it's going to be really, really white out in the north into the weekend. But for now, Winnipeg, we are at 1 degree at the Fox. It's clear outside. Plenty of sunshine through the day. Light winds will warm up to about 7 degrees later. And similar conditions we'll see from the Pembina Valley region, tracking it towards Portage, Morden, Winkler, Alton, down to Brandon, Dauphin, and even Gimli. It's going to be a calm and sunny day. We're going to see morning temperatures really, really nice this morning, and highs will be around 6 degrees, while up north it's more about the snow expected that way, and we still see light snow falling in Churchill at this time. So while the south will be enjoying sunshine and mild air, the north is gearing up for a wintry weekend. Winnipeg right now, it's 1 at the Fox and clear.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Corey Funk in studio now for more on the commute.
Yes, so actually already there is one issue that's going to be an issue all morning. The Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service has closed William Avenue between Juno and Kate Street to all traffic. That's because of a fire in the area, and they expect that to be closed throughout the morning rush and possibly until later in the day, according to the Winnipeg Traffic Management System. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. If you have any updates on what kind of traffic issue that's causing or anything else in the city or across the province on the highways, bike lanes, anything like that, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
15 minutes after 6 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1. Magandang umaga. Good morning, Manitoba. Listening to us on the radio, on the app, and of course, watching us on CBC television as well. Thanks for making us part of your morning routine. First up, a story of partnership and community coming together to fill a need. The South Osborne Commons show is inviting you to play it forward. It's an event full of live music and fun for the whole family, with the proceeds going to support childcare and community services for South Osborne families. The event is happening next Saturday, and here to tell us all about it is Christina Hunter, the project coordinator. Good morning. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Faith. Thanks so much for having me.
Christina, talk about this event here. What is it about?
Well, it's just so exciting because we have the opportunity to do some fundraising for a community project that's really all about partners coming together to serve the community. It's a church building like many others that is being repurposed to serve the real needs of the South Osborne community. The South Osborne Child Care Coalition recognized needs for childcare in the area, especially infant spaces. We have a very diverse community in South Osborne. We have many young families, and we're also not far from the bus rapid transit line with denser housing and new families moving in and increasing need for housing, and as well as the associated needs that come with that, like childcare, like other health services and so on. So that's really what the South Osborne Commons is all about. There's a United Church at 525 Beresford Avenue that is going to be repurposed to become a childcare center in partnership with the Riverview Ashland Childcare. They're going to run it. And we've got a community group that has just stepped up to run it. And we're called the South Osborne Commons. And in order to do that, we have to fundraise because we need to renovate this building. And of course, the province pays for part of childcare facilities, but not all of it. And then not all of the rest of the building renovations that we need to do. So hence the fundraiser. And it's an amazing time. We've got Al Simmons coming. So what's better than that for kids of all ages? And he will be featured in the show. He will be running the show. And you know who else has stepped up? Other Juno Award winner, Carrie Latimer of the band Leaf Rapids, Daniel Jordan, longtime Winnipeg talent and connector who is helping organize the event. And in addition, we have some other local talent, and to make it even better, we have a dessert auction. So local businesses have been donating cakes and desserts, and the community is stepping up with cakes and pies and their very best. So you get to put tickets in and try to go home with a cake. So after all the fun, it gets even better. You get to go home with a cake. So if you're the lucky winners. So I think it's a wonderful event. It's very affordable. Children under 12 come in for free. Adults tickets are just $15. For youth, it's $10. So it's really affordable. It's meant to be engaging the community and get people out, have a good time, learn more about the plans for the building. We'll have the architectural plans there and plenty of people to discuss it with. And yeah, so it's quite a fun time.
We just briefly lost you for a moment there, but I think you were ending the point that you were making there. You were talking about how part of this event includes folks learning more about the plan. Where are you in the plan right now? How much money are you trying to raise?
Well, there's a significant amount of money we need, of course. We're just over $1 million is required yet, in addition to what the province will be supporting through the childcare development programs. But, we're well underway. We've engaged an architect and a project manager, and we are just moving full steam ahead. And we're looking at ways to raise the remaining funds. And part of that is the community, of course. And it's not just about raising money, but it's also about raising awareness for the project and engaging more partners and bringing more folks on board with this really important way to repurpose a building in a dense community that needs more support. So it's really exciting that we can evolve our needs around this building and fulfill those needs for the community. So I think it's a wonderful project and something that is going to be just a lot of fun.
When you say well on your way, are you talking about you have 900,000 for the million, or you've just begun kind of thing?
Oh no, we've just started, Faith. This is the very beginning. This is the very beginning of a long journey, but I think we have a lot of supports and a lot of good reasons to move forward. And so, yeah, absolutely. We're at the very, very beginning of the journey for fundraising.
Christina, thanks for making time this morning.
Thank you, Faith. I appreciate it. I hope everyone goes to Eventbrite to pick up their tickets for Play It Forward.
Christina Hunter is a resident of South Osborne, also the project coordinator for the event happening next Saturday, November 22nd. We heard that local band Leaf Rapids will perform as well. Here is the band with Starling to a Starling.
The dark is looming, won't you dose
That's Leaf Rapids with Starling to a Starling. We're coming up to 24 minutes after 6 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Listen app. Also on CBC Television. Hello to the folks watching this morning. Since the spring of 2023, civil war has been devastating parts of Sudan. The United Nations has described the situation as the largest humanitarian crisis in the world. The conflict is between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. And in the middle are millions of civilians. Awad Ibrahim is Provost, Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Excellence, and holder of the Air Canada Professorship on Anti-Racism at the University of Ottawa. Also a Sudanese analyst. Awad, welcome to the program.
Good morning to you and good morning to your listeners.
This conflict has entered into its third year. Remind us about the players and why they're fighting.
Every time I hear this number, I'm horrified and it aches my heart. 3 years it has been. Okay, so we need to go back to 2023, to be specific, April 15. This is when the two parties that you just mentioned, the Sudanese army on the one hand, and then there is the rapid support, known as the RSF. They used to be kind of buddy-buddy, by the way. So at some point they disagreed and they were not fighting, but they wanted the same thing. They wanted wealth and they wanted power. And that's in a very crude way, not only the reasons, but the part that is fueling the war at the moment. Let me just give your audience a little bit of what are we talking about when we say the worst humanitarian crisis. We're talking about 25 million. Let me say that number one more time. 25 million people who are on the verge of famine. Let me pause. 12 million of internally displaced people. We're talking about 4+ million people who are externally displaced. These are refugees in countries around Sudan. These are the numbers that we're talking about, and we actually have it confirmed and declared already by the UN that there are parts of Sudan that already in famine. And I keep reminding not only myself, but your listeners as well, these are not just numbers that we're talking about. These are people. And I know we went through, and I hate the idea of comparing wars, but the images that came through, and I'm just going to give one example. In Gaza, if people can multiply that by 10 times more.
Why do you think this is something that isn't being spoken of as readily as other conflicts that we've been seeing in the news?
I have to admit, this has been a mystery to me. I think in part because they were competing wars. And again, I hate the idea of comparing wars, but the Ukraine and Gaza took over the very little oxygen that the newsrooms have. And now we're coming back to Sudan, but I really hope it will be highlighted more. But it has been really a mystery to me why the little attention that it has received. But this is the world we have, not the world we desire. And so let's highlight this. And this is why I appreciate you, and I appreciate your listeners, and I appreciate the CBC for highlighting the issue one more time.
We just have about 30 seconds here. What do you think it would take for this to end?
In fact, it's not a hope. It's more of it's something that people are working towards. One, we have to work with the Quad, and this is a call to the Canadian government to get involved. The Quad are the U.S., UAE, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. they brought the two parties in Washington D.C. To reach a ceasefire on the one hand, then provide humanitarian services, and then eventually bring the civilian governments. And there is no other option. This is the only way to do it, and this is how it will and should be done. And so I'm calling on the Canadian government to get involved as much as possible, and at best to be around the table with the Quad, at minimum to pressure the two parties, not only to reach a peace, but also make it possible for love to be brought into existence.
Awad, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for your time today, and take good care.
Absolute pleasure, and thank you again for highlighting the issue.
Awad Ibrahim is Vice Provost, Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Excellence, and holder of the Air Canada Professorship on Anti-Racism at the University of Ottawa. He is also an expert on Sudan. I'm Faith Fundal here on Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. Lots to come in our next half hour. The news is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it's 1 degree. It's going to be another glorious November day in Winnipeg. Just a bit of a wind at 15 kilometers an hour. Lots of sunshine again, and a high of 6. A national advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and their families says she is deeply concerned about Sean Lamb's release from prison. Lamb admitted to the 2012 deaths of Carolyn Sinclair and Lorna Blacksmith. He was sentenced to 20 years minus time served. This month, the Parole Board of Canada granted the 66-year-old statutory release. He must live at least 6 months in a halfway house or a psychiatric facility. Hilda Anderson-Pierce at the National Family and Survivors Circle says Canada must do more to protect vulnerable Indigenous people.
When we're looking at the vulnerabilities of Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit and gender diverse people in our communities, we have an obligation to keep them safe from predators like Sean Lamb.
By law, offenders who have served 2/3 of a fixed-length sentence must be released from prison under supervision, although it can be denied in some circumstances. You can read more on this story on our website this morning, cbc.ca/Manitoba. New efforts to crack down on bus fare evasion saw nearly 5,000 Winnipeg transit riders denied in just over 2 months. The denied rides come after the city expanded inspector enforcement. That started in September. Councillor Janice Lukes chairs the city's Public Works Committee and says bus fare evasion is a long-standing problem.
Transit isn't a service that pays for itself. The City of Winnipeg taxpayers subsidize it, and it's been going up, 84% since 2020. So that's concerning, and we're just having to crack down on people that don't want to pay for riding the bus.
The city estimates Winnipeg Transit loses between $7 million and $10 million a year because of riders not paying fares. The owner of a private rail port in southern Manitoba wants to know why the province provided an $18 million grant to help start a rival business. CBC's Bartley Kivas reports.
I still have a difficult time understanding the logic.
Rail Tetro is the founder of Mid-Canada Transload Service, a privately owned inland port alongside Highway 75 and the CN rail line just south of L'Atelier. Tetro said he was flabbergasted to learn this summer that the former PC government gave an $18 million grant to a potential competitor.
I couldn't believe that the government of the day would put an outright grant to start up a company to compete against us.
The grant was issued right before the 2023 election. It went to John Q. Public, a company owned by 11 Manitoba municipalities, to buy land and conduct studies to build a rail port up the highway in the arm of Reachot. Barry Prentice at the U of M's Transport Institute says this might not prove fatal to Tetro's business.
Yes, they might lose some traffic, but I don't think this is a death knell for them by any stretch of the imagination.
The NDP government is still reviewing the railport grant issued by its PC predecessor. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Prime Minister Mark Carney will be in Terrace, BC today, rolling out his government's next list of so-called nation-building projects. CBC News confirms it will include BC's North Coast transmission line running from Prince George to Terrace, and among other projects expected to get the fast track, a nickel mine in Ontario, a critical minerals mine in New Brunswick, and a hydroelectric project in Nunavut. CBC's visual investigations team has learned Canadian-made weapons are being used by a Sudanese paramilitary group responsible for the massacre of civilians. Images shared by RSF fighters include rifles bearing the logo of a BC weapons manufacturer. You can hear more on this and other national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans still have plenty to enjoy at the Grey Cup this year, even if their team didn't make the big game. Many activities are launching in the lead up to Sunday's contest. Concerts, a social, and a free street festival for the whole family. Blue Bombers President Wade Miller says it's a great event for the area. Many visitors are expected to come to the province, especially from Saskatchewan, since the Rough Riders are in the game.
Really happy for Manitoba and the city of Winnipeg. It's great for our economy. We're going to let our friends from the West spend a lot of money here this weekend and enjoy CFL football. And Canadian football is about coming together. And that's what the Grey Cup Festival does every year.
Sunday's game features the Rough Riders against the Montreal Alouettes. It was the Owls, you may recall, who knocked out the Bombers from the playoffs in the East Final. You can find more news updated throughout your day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
I did not forget.
I know, it's hard. Still fresh, right? Still hurts.
It's so hard to forget. And you know what? I'm glad that the sports leaders are talking about how we can get through all of this. If folks stay tuned on Up to Speed this afternoon, I spoke yesterday with the head coach of the University of Manitoba Bisons program. And I asked him if Winnipeggers should be cheering for our prairie cousins. I think you can guess what he had to say, but more fun if I ask you to wait and listen to that interview.
I want to know now.
Tell you what, I'll tell you during the next news or after your next newscast. All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Heather Wells from your CBC Winnipeg local news desk. I'm Faith Fundahl here in for Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. No, you did not sleep all the way in the afternoon time. It is morning at just about 37 minutes after 6 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1. Corey Funk joining us now with a look at the commute so far?
Yes. So right now, William Avenue, it's going to be a problem all morning, closed because of a fire between Juno Street and Kate Street due to that fire. And according to the Winnipeg Traffic Management Center, it is expected to be a problem all morning and possibly even later into the day. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. And if you are in that area, you see any issues that's causing in the general William Avenue area or anything like that on the highways, bike lanes, sidewalks, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number to call, 204-788-3093.
And we have to go back to Control Room 15 where Abby Adiemi is following the weather forecast as well. Good morning.
Good morning once again, Faith. We're looking at another sunny day across more like the southern part of the province. We might see this stretch into the north. It's going to be cool and pleasant in the south, while the north is going to be turning more like with flurries and snow on the way. Hence this special weather statement we have in effect for parts of northern Manitoba. We're tracking it all the way from Thompson towards Gillam, Lynn Lake to the lake towards Churchill and the Hudson Bay coast. Well, look at the prediction there says about 25 centimeters of snow expected once that system comes. So a lot of snow expected to start from Friday morning, and that would spread into Saturday morning. So look, before we get into that weekend snow coming up north, let's talk about today. Winnipeg, 1 degree at the Forks at this time. It's clear. a sunny day ahead, light winds and a high near 6 degrees. Similar conditions we're seeing in the Pembina Valley region, tracking it from Morden towards Portage and all the way Morris, Winkler, Altona to the U.S. border. Skies bright this morning, expecting sunshine, highs also around 6. In the Westman region, from Brandon towards Nipawin, we're looking at clear and cold morning. It's -7 at this time, but you will warm up to about 7 with some sunshine on its way and some southeast breeze to come with that. Across the Parkland region, from Dauphin towards Roblin, we're seeing -3. It's going to be sunny and crisp with highs near 5 degrees and light southeast winds also later today. Looking at conditions in the Interlake region, Gimli currently is clear at -3. Another sunny day for you. Mild afternoon, you warm up to about 6. The powerful influence surrounding communities, we're looking at -5 at this time. Clear skies that return cloudy later with a chance of flurries tonight and a high near 0. While for Thompson and nearby communities, tracking it towards Gillam, it's cloudy and cold there. -4 now. Light winds and snow expected overnight into Friday. Significant snowfall likely through Saturday for that region. And lastly, in Churchill and the York region, -6. Light snow falling at this time with strong winds. That should ease through the day. Those flurries will taper off before more heavy snow arrives tomorrow. So across board fates, a sunny, calm day across the south, and we will feel the cold a bit, and then it's more like a winter wonderland setting up for the northern parts of the province this morning. Winnipeg right now, it is 1 at the Fox and Clare.
Always good reminder that it is Thursday, November 13th. So
True.
There you go. All right. Thanks very much, Abby Adiemi, following your forecast today. Thanks as well to Darren Morish, who is making sure we look good on the television and on our CBC Manitoba YouTube stream. Someone also standing by, waiting for us, is Hallie Cottenham with the business report. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning, Faith. Thank you very much for having me.
We're going to talk about the big story of the day here. A big day for Canada's economy with the announcement of the second round of nation-building projects. CBC got a sense of what might be announced today. What do you know so far?
Well, we know for sure the Prime Minister will unveil the list in Terrace, BC. Sources have revealed a lot of the details, some of it, completely sourced, some of it a little more speculative. First up, a series of mines in New Brunswick, the Sisson mine that will extract tungsten and molybdenum, both critical minerals used in energy storage. In Quebec, the Nouveau Graphite Phase 2 project. In Ontario, the Crawford Nickel project near Timmins. So those 3 projects all about mining. And then a series of big energy. Up north, a hydroelectric project in Nunavut to help Iqaluit wean itself off its reliance on diesel-generated power. Out west, the Silicium's LNG project in BC that would see LNG, liquid natural gas, exported to Asia. And a major power line called the North Coast Transmission Line, which would connect Prince George to Terrace, BC, which, as I mentioned, is where the Prime Minister is going to be making these announcements. The idea, of course, that these projects could get fast-tracked, that it could ramp up our economy and reduce our reliance on the U.S. CBC, of course, will be all across this all throughout the day, but the actual announcement scheduled for 1:15 your time.
All right, more to come. Let's talk about next here, a story about men's briefs, boxers, skivvies, smalls. What are we talking about here?
As a total aside, I found this article that said there are 50 words to describe men's underwear. In any case, it's big business. It's projected to reach $78 billion by 2030. Men's underwear, Faith, has gone through a trend called premiumization, which means better fabric and design and style, but prepare to pay a bigger price. And some big names in the game like Nike and Under Armour, also some Canadian brands like Saks and Lululemon. A few years ago, a Canadian company called Man Made charmed the pants off the Dragons in CBC's The Dragon's Den, which brings me to the latest entry in the men's Gotchi Stakes, a brand familiar to women, Knix Wear. That's KNIX, Toronto-based company, known for its slick marketing and period underwear. This week, it launched a men's line of underwear, t-shirts, and socks. And it's interesting because it used to be that men's underwear were actually almost exclusively purchased by women, by wives, girlfriends, and mothers. It's changing, but really slowly. The folks over at Knix say 72% of women still buy men's underwear. And Knix is hoping they'll stick around for their own stuff and then buy some of this premium men's underwear. And the stakes are super high. In 2024, just to give you an idea, sales of men's underwear in Canada reached approximately $800 million, according to a market research firm.
I mean, it makes sense. I should not be surprised. And yet, as you say those numbers, my mind is like, what? No kidding. Let's talk about drama in Hollywood here, about stars and artificial intelligence. What do we know about this so far?
Matthew McConaughey and Michael Caine are the latest to sign a deal with an AI company to license their voices. It's a startup. Well, it started in 2022. It's called 11 Labs, and it sells the voices of celebrities and historical figures for other companies to use in their content or in their ads. Here's a snippet of Michael Caine's voice. It's so iconic, you'll recognize it. But it was created by AI at 11 Labs.
Because technology is just a medium. This is humanity, amplified.
The company already has a series of other synthetic performers that you can pick from, either through collaborating with the actual actors like Michael Caine or by replicating their voices through historical or archival audio. And some of the voices you can purchase, Liza Minnelli, Maya Angelou, Mark Twain, Thomas Edison. It turns out that Matthew McConaughey actually invested in this company when it started up, and he's using the company or allowing the company to translate his newsletter into Spanish using his voice. Take a listen.
Con mi permiso, 11 Labs trabajó conmigo para traducir mi voz.
So one of my colleagues said that because it's in Spanish, she couldn't immediately recognize his voice. Take a listen again.
Con mi permiso, 11 Labs trabajó conmigo para traducir mi voz.
If I had chosen a clip of him going, all right, all right, all right, maybe it would have been more obvious. In any case, the use of AI in Hollywood has created a pretty serious divide between folks that are essentially cashing in on it and others who are calling it out as a threat to their creativity.
Hallie, I have to admit, as I was listening to those clips, all I could hear was, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. All right.
Back to the drawing board.
Yep, I think so, maybe. Hallie, thank you for this.
Take care. Bye.
You as well. Hallie Cottenham with the Business News. We're at 15 minutes before 7 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1. For the past 21 years, in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, on Edmonton Street, there is an apartment that has quietly become home to refugee and immigrant women from all around the world. They speak different languages, have different cultures, and religions as well. But they have one thing in common. They wouldn't stand a chance without a first safe place to live in our city. It is called the House of Peace. And every year, more than 1,000 people come out for a fundraiser dinner to support the nonprofit organization. Adiyam Tesfamariam shared her story about how she arrived at the House of Peace, the impact it's had on her life. Here is part of what she said.
I was born in 1993 in Asmara, the capital city of Eritrea. I grew up in a modest family. My parents worked incredibly hard to raise 4 children. They taught us the values of discipline and perseverance. After high school, like every young Eritrean, I was sent to a remote, terribly hot place to do a mandatory military training and at the same time complete my matriculation exams. Very few students are allowed to go to further studies. Fortunately, I did well and I got a chance to join college. I studied electrical and electronics engineering and graduated in 2017. That is when reality really sunk in and struck me hard. There were no prospects to use my degree and skills in Eritrea. None. Should I try to escape? I made a plan, and my brave brother-in-law risked his life to accompany me. In April 2019, we set out and walked for 4 hours in the dark before crossing the border to Ethiopia. I carried only one small bag of clothes and my phone. I was terrified. I stayed in Ethiopia for 2.5 long and difficult years. In December 2021, my brother, who lives just outside of Winnipeg, was finally able to sponsor me. I stayed with them for 2 months. Immediately, I sent out applications, attended interviews. They always asked me, "Do you have Canadian experience?" And every time I told the truth, "No, I just arrived here." Unfortunately, being honest did not help me. Finally, I got hired. I panicked. My brother lived in Woodlands, and the job was here in Winnipeg. I needed a place to live immediately. Thankfully, the House of Peace offered me the last available room. That day, I was given not only a roof over my head, but I was welcomed to an amazing community. My 2 years at the House of Peace are unforgettable. Women from all over the world live together. I made friends from China, Chad, Korea, Sri Lanka, India, and many other countries. We shared our cultures, meals, and countless stories. We laughed together, yelled and screamed at the Jets hockey games. This past year, I was honored to receive the 2024 Eric and Carol Johnson House of Peace Scholarship Award. This huge gift enabled me to pursue my diploma in cyber and cloud security. 2 months ago, I graduated. I'm searching for a job. Are there any takers? Please hire me. I promise I won't disappoint you.
That was part of a speech from Adiam Tesfamariam, who shared her story at the House of Peace fundraising dinner at the Convention Centre. If you'd like to learn more about the organization, you can visit houseofpeace.ca. We're at 9 minutes before 7 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1. And as you've been hearing, the federal government expected to announce the first 5 contenders for its nation-building projects plan. It did that in September. Focused primarily on energy and critical mineral infrastructure. Today, the Prime Minister is set to add 6 more projects to that list. If approved, the projects would be deemed nationally significant and be fast-tracked through bureaucratic red tape. Carney is saying these investments will help reshape the Canadian economy. For more on his perspective, we have reached Pau Pujulis. He is Associate Professor of Economics at McMaster University. Joining us from Hamilton, Ontario. Good morning. Welcome back to the program.
Good morning, Faye. Thank you for having me.
Is this major project strategy the kind of plan you would have expected from a banker when he took power?
Well, let's think about that. So what is this project really doing? What is this office of major projects doing? So what we have right now is an economy with too much regulation, too much red tape, too much bureaucracy. And as a result, we have a bunch of projects that apparently are very good and that they should proceed. We are learning recently, but that they have not been able to proceed, that they have been in this regulatory hellscape for many years, and they were not being able to take off. So in that sense, if this office really comes in and helps these projects from happening, that's going to be great news. Now, on the other hand, what we have to do is to think, so why do we have this in the first place? Why do we have to create yet more bureaucracy? Why do we have to create another layer of government to make those projects take off? Clearly, the problem was that we already had too much government in the first place. We had too much bureaucracy, too much red tape. So instead of creating this office, what we should do is remove all the regulation that is clearly bad for the economy. All the regulatory burdens that were preventing all the announced projects in September and all the projects that are going to be announced today. all the regulatory burdens that were preventing these projects from taking off should be dismantled. Let's get rid of them.
Why do you think that's not the approach the Prime Minister and his Liberal government is taking?
That's a great question. One fear that I have, one reason why I do not know that that's what's happening, but it would make sense, is that this is giving a lot of political power to the government. The government is now being able to pick winners. It's not going to be the economic forces. It's not going to be the investors, entrepreneurs, banks, everyone that will have a stake in these projects that is going to decide whether a project happens or not. Instead, this is going to be a bureaucrat in Ottawa that's going to greenlit some projects but not greenlit others. In fact, we have learned of the 5 projects that were announced in September. We will learn about 6 more projects today. But what we are not learning is the projects that are not being greenlit. Which projects are we leaving on the side? Why are we picking some winners and not others? What is the process behind that? If the regulation was good, the projects that would be taking place are the projects that make most economic sense for all the economic agents. Instead, what we have now is that the projects that are going to take place are the projects linked to a lobbyist, a politician, some politic games that are gonna allow these projects to succeed, and that is terrible news.
And so you still have those bureaucracies, though, that you mentioned in the beginning part of our interview. I want to take a step back and think economic strategy. What do we know about whether nation-building projects actually make fiscal sense?
This is the type of question that it makes perfect sense that you ask, but as an economist, I have to say is what gives us bad rep, because I'm going to have to put the head of an economist and tell you that of all the projects that have been deemed nationally important, that have been deemed to be nation building in the world, which there have been many, and they have been defended by various governments and supranational organizations like the World Bank or the IMF, all those projects are always at best boosting economic activity regionally a little bit, which makes sense, but they don't do anything more than that. And more often than not, they are just politically motivated and end up leading to some degree of corruption. So it's not a very good idea in general. Instead, what we should do is to get rid of the bad regulation.
Do you think we'll hear if Churchill is going to be part of this list anytime soon?
Which one, sorry?
Do you think we're going to hear if the Port of Churchill expansion is going to be part of any list anytime soon?
It's a great question. That's exactly the problem. Do we know which projects are being chosen and why? Do we know which projects are not being chosen? Is it that the Port of Churchill really doesn't make sense? We don't know. If that is the case, it would be great for the Prime Minister to come and tell us not only which projects have been chosen, but also which projects have not been chosen and why. It would be great to know. It may be that the Port of Churchill doesn't make economic sense once everyone has been looking at it. But it could also be that it's not in the benefit of the political party in power to boost that construction now. And if that is the case, the fact that we are not building it is really bad news.
Pau, thanks for the time today. Take good care.
Thank you, Faith.
Pau Pujulas is Associate Professor of Economics at McMaster University. He is in Hamilton, Ontario. Let's head to your CBC Winnipeg local news desk. Heather Wells joining us with a look at news headlines.
Good morning. Well, an advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls says Canada must do more to protect them from killers like Sean Lamb. Lamb is being released from prison. He has admitted to the 2012 deaths of Carolyn Sinclair and Lorna Blacksmith. He was sentenced to 20 years minus time served. This month, the Parole Board of Canada granted the 66-year-old statutory release. Hilda Anderson-Pearce at the National Family and Survivor Circles wants a stronger commitment from the Canadian government from the MMIWG inquiry's calls for justice. The owner of a private rail port in southern Manitoba wants to know why the province provided an $18 million grant to help start a rival business. We'll hear that story and more in our next local news coming up at 7:30.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Heather Wells from your CBC Winnipeg local news desk. I'm Faith Wendell in for Marcy Marcusa, along with the team here on Information Radio, Abby Adiemi, our technician, Corey Funk, our show director, and Darren Morash, who is our streaming producer. So if you're watching us on YouTube, good morning. Thanks for making us part of your routine. And we'll say goodbye shortly. shortly to the folks watching us on CBC television because it'll revert to local programming or network programming after the 7 o'clock, as the 7 o'clock hour starts here. Looking at traffic, looks like William Avenue between Juno Street and Kate Street is closed to all traffic because of a fire. So expect closures to be in effect throughout the morning rush and possibly later in the day as well. Again, that's William Avenue between Juno Street and Kate Street, closed because of a fire. Those closures likely going to be in effect throughout the morning rush and possibly later in the day as well. Avoid if you can. Coming up in our next hour of the program, 15 infants have been hospitalized in the United States because of an outbreak of botulism in connection to baby formula. A food sciences professor joins us to give us his thoughts about that story. Also, so exciting, the PWHL is having its first ever puck drop in Winnipeg. We'll hear from a PWHL goalie inspired by other Manitobans who have paved the way for her and now gets to experience a hometown game. More on that and other stories coming up here on Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, on YouTube and on television. Stay tuned. World Report is standing by.
Today on The Current.
They say kids are often sharing their locations online through social media, and it's putting them at risk.
There's a lot of talk about parents tracking their kids' location on their phone, but a lot of Gen Zers share their location with friends, colleagues, and romantic partners to show they care. Why that is starting to creep some of them out, coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. Canadian-made weapons are being used by a Sudanese paramilitary group responsible for the massacres of civilians. Images shared by Rapid Support Forces fighters include rifles bearing the logo of a BC manufacturer. Ithil Musa has more on this exclusive story from CBC's Visual Investigations team.
I was shocked.
McGill professor Khalid Madani says the use of Canadian-made weapons in his home country of Sudan is not only troubling, it's illegal.
Not only does it violate the Export-Imports Permits Act, the Canadian legislation, but also the international law.
Photos analyzed by CBC's Visual Investigations team show members of the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary, or RSF, holding rifles with the logo of Sterling Cross Defense Systems, a company based in British Columbia. Sterling Cross says its policies align with that of Global Affairs Canada. It's not clear how their rifles got into Sudan, but Imaduddin Badi, with the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, says some experts point to the United Arab Emirates.
The UAE, according to multiple reports, has been facing allegations of supplying the RSF.
Sudan's civil war is being fought between two rival factions, the Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces. The RSF's recent capture of North Darfur's capital El Fasher has left hundreds dead and forced thousands to flee. Shahab Muhammad Ali is with Islamic Relief in Port Sudan. He says the situation is catastrophic.
The town has been under siege for the last 1 year and a half. People are starving. There is shortage of food.
Here at home, Global Affairs Canada says if laws were violated with Canadian weapons entering Sudan, it will ensure those responsible face legal consequences. Ithil Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
And to learn more about how we track these weapons, read the team's full report at cbcnews.ca. Prime Minister Mark Carney will be in Terrace, BC today to reveal his next tranche of the so-called nation-building project. CBC News has confirmed another project that will be on the list, the North Coast Transmission Line in British Columbia, running from Prince George to Terrace. Also, among the new projects expected to be fast-tracked, a hydroelectric project in Nunavut, a nickel mine in Ontario, and a critical minerals mine in New Brunswick. Environment Minister Julie DeBruson is highlighting Canada's efforts to tackle the climate crisis, even as some observers are questioning the country's commitment. She's at the COP30 Climate Summit in Belém, Brazil, and the CBC's international climate correspondent Susan Ormiston caught up with her. Susan, what is DeBruson announcing this morning?
She announced $392 million for international development projects. Now, this is part of Canada's commitment to an annual fund to be paid out to developing countries who are suffering the most from the effects of climate change. Here's what she said.
Climate action and economic prosperity go hand in hand. Canada is helping to shape a clean, resilient, and prosperous future.
It's not new money. In 2021, Canada pledged $5 billion over 5 years for this fund. The pledges are due to be renewed in 2026, but the minister couldn't tell us what Canada will offer or when.
So, Susan, what are you hearing about Canada's role at the COP?
According to some people that we've spoken to here, there are some questions about Canada's role, its leadership and commitment to climate change. And they're suggesting that Canada's role is much quieter this year. Catherine Abreu is the director of the International Climate Politics Hub.
For sure, we've seen a significant weakening in Canada's approach to tackling climate change. We've heard that it's unlikely Canada will actually be able to deliver on its 2030 climate pollution reduction target.
She says that Canada's climate plan for the next 5 years submitted to this UN process is less robust than in the past. Minister DeBruson refutes that.
We're actually not only saying that we will do what we need to do, we're moving forward and stepping up to do more. And I think that's really important when people are looking at the situation that we're in as a country and the work that we're doing.
The Environment Minister and the Culture Minister, Stephen Guilbeault, are here until tomorrow.
CBC's Susan Ormiston in Belém, Brazil. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
The longest government shutdown in U.S. history is over, 43 days after it began.
It's an honor now to sign this incredible bill and get our country working again. Thank you.
U.S. President Donald Trump signs the government spending bill last night. The House of Representatives narrowly passed it to approve it days after it was passed in the Senate. Democrats have been looking to extend health coverage subsidies for low-income Americans, which expire at the end of the year, but Republicans said that was a separate policy to be negotiated at another time. The disruption caused financial stress for federal workers who went without paychecks and stranded travelers at airports. The bill also triggers the resumption of food aid benefits that were paused at the beginning of November. Meanwhile, a U.S. House of Representatives petition to force a vote to release the Jeffrey Epstein files has hit an important threshold. The swearing-in of a new Democratic representative last night cleared the way for the vote to happen. Yesterday, a House Oversight Committee released thousands of the disgraced financier's emails, some of which mention the U.S. president. Katie Nicholson tells us what could come next.
Congratulations, you're now a member of the 119th Congress.
It took 7 weeks, but Arizona Democrat Adelita Grijalva was finally sworn in. The new representative wasted no time delivering on one of her promises.
I will sign the discharge petition right now to release the Epstein files.
Now, with 218 signatures, that discharge petition will force a House vote to release the Department of Justice's files on Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier and sex offender. It came the same day Democrats drew attention to 3 emails from Epstein's estate, one which suggested Trump, quote, knew about the girls. Epstein died awaiting a federal trial for sex trafficking. He had a well-documented friendship with U.S. President Donald Trump, which began to sour in 2004 over a real estate deal. Trump has consistently denied any wrongdoing in relation to Epstein and has been under pressure from his own base to release the DOJ's Epstein files, something he had promised to do on the campaign trail. On social media yesterday, he called it the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. His press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, also pushed back.
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep.
But Democratic Representative Suhas Subramaniam says it's no hoax.
But this story's not going away. They're being naive about this. We're going to continue.
A House vote will happen next week, but then would face an uncertain future in the Republican-held Senate. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Washington.
Nearly 15,000 U.S. sailors and Marines are now believed to be deployed in the Caribbean Sea. The Trump administration says troops were sent to the Caribbean to combat narco trafficking, but in Brazil there is widespread speculation that the U.S. might be planning to force regime change. Freelance reporter Cody Weddle has more.
As soldiers rush to grab rifles, a narrator says defense operations have been elevated to their highest level. The scene part of a pre-produced video presented on state TV by Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro as he announced that the country would begin massive mobilization of military forces. It comes as the world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald Ford, arrives in the Caribbean. The U.S. has said its goal is to stop drug trafficking, but many believe Washington may now be eyeing strikes within Venezuelan territory, possibly aimed at regime change. Pedro Garmendia has worked with the Venezuelan opposition and runs a political risk consultancy.
What Maduro needs is to make it seem like the cost of this operation is going to be so much higher for the United States to carry out that Trump backs out.
The Trump administration is believed to be readying a legal justification for any possible strikes. University of Houston international law expert Chris Mirasola believes Trump will continue to argue that Nicolás Maduro is part of organized crime groups like Tren de Aragua and that it
is an arm of the Venezuelan state, and that certain of its activities, like narco trafficking, represent an armed attack against the United States.
For now, Venezuelans are watching both the skies and Washington to see what comes next. Cody Weddle for CBC News, Bogota.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. If you're enjoying the World Report podcast, and we hope you are, please follow us and tell a friend. It helps to spread the word. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Magandang umaga, kababayan, friends. Faith Wundal here in for Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio on CBC Radio 1 and on our CBC Manitoba YouTube stream. We're here with our team, Abby Adiemi, Corey Funk, and Darren Morash. Coming up in this hour of the program, the PWHL is coming to Winnipeg. And it's a homecoming for some players. We'll speak with a local PWHL player who never thought she'd see professional women's hockey in her hometown. Stay tuned for that conversation. Also ahead, Crown attorneys with Manitoba Justice share their insights into the challenges of prosecuting sex assault cases and how they try to overcome them. First, though, 15 infants have been hospitalized in the United States because of an outbreak of botulism in connection to baby formula. We'll hear from a food sciences professor to join us. He'll join us and give his thoughts coming up next here on the program. Stay tuned. First, though, we'll head to your CBC Winnipeg local news desk, and Heather Wells joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs and Manitoba Keewatin Okemakanak say they are outraged. A national advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and their families says she is deeply concerned, both talking about Sean Lamb's release from prison. He admitted to the 2012 deaths of Carolyn Sinclair and Lorna Blacksmith and was sentenced to 20 years minus time served. This month, the Parole Board of Canada granted the 66-year-old statutory release. He is ordered, however, to live at least 6 months in a halfway house or a psychiatric facility. We're going to hear more on the story coming up. And the free ride is over. That from a Winnipeg Transit Union executive. Transit says nearly 5,000 riders have been denied, an early result of a fare enforcement push expected to save transit millions in unpaid fares. Those stories and more coming up at 7:30.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Heather Wells from your CBC Winnipeg local news desk. Abby Adiemi is following the forecast. Good morning.
Good morning, Faith. We're expecting a sunny and crisp day across the province today. Sunshine will be covering much of the south while tracking it up north. We're looking at a cooler with some lingering clouds and maybe some snow snow on the way today. Light winds and mild air will make it pleasant in the southern parts of the province. Winnipeg right now still at 1 degree at the Fox. Clear skies we do have with a bit of morning mist spotted outside the city limits. We're expecting sunshine to break through later in the day. Our high will reach about 6 degrees with light winds later this afternoon. And across board, we're seeing temperatures between -7 and -1. Cool and clear starts in most of the regions down south, and most of the regions warming up close to 7 degrees today. While further north, partly cloudy conditions with temperatures near -4 to high of 0 for most of the regions up there. We're still anticipating this 10 to 25 centimeters of snow expected from Friday into Saturday for the northern parts of the province. Hence that special weather statement tracking it all the way from Thompson to Gillam towards Lynn Lake and then Churchill and the Hudson Bay coast. So brace for that. It's going to be really a snowy weekend for the northern part of the province. But for today, sunshine for most regions in the south. Winnipeg right now, 1 degree.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Abby Ediemi following your forecast there. Corey Funk, our studio director, and following your commute.
Yes, a couple things to keep an eye out for. All morning, William Avenue between Juno and Kate Street has been closed due to a fire, and that is expected to be closed for much of the morning, including this morning rush hour and possibly even later into the day as they assess what to do. It was a vacant house, and they're assessing whether to demolish it, last we heard at our news desk. You want to keep an eye out if you're on southbound La Jamaudière at Fermor. There's a stall blocking the southbound left turn lane right at the stop line there. Apparently there is a tow truck on scene, but you want to keep right to get around that, according to the Winnipeg Traffic Management Center. If you do see anything else going on out there, you can give us a call on the CBC commuter line. Let us know what you're seeing. That number, 204-788-3093.
15 minutes after 7 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1, I'm Faith Fundal. 15 infants in 12 states in the U.S. have been hospitalized with suspected or confirmed infant botulism. According to the most recent update from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, data showing By Heart Whole Nutrition infant formula might be contaminated. The brand isn't sold in Canada, but parents here are still concerned. Rick Hawley, Distinguished Professor Emeritus at the University of Manitoba. His internationally recognized work relates to understanding the risks related to food processing, storage, and handling. Rick joins us now by Zoom. Welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's first start with what infant botulism is.
Yeah, it's an illness that's brought on by consumption of bacterial spores that germinate in the intestine of the child and form a neurotoxin. And following germination and production of the neurotoxin, the child experiences flaccid paralysis of varying degrees that can be quite serious.
How serious are we talking about here?
Well, for the moment, we haven't seen in this particular outbreak any mortality, but that is always a possibility because the neurotoxin causes respiratory paralysis as well as shutting down the metabolism of the child, leading to the need for respiratory assistance in order to keep the child alive. Normally, when the diagnosis is made, assistance is provided, or can be provided.
Right, and assistance in the form of stop consuming the thing and then provide medical assistance, right?
Correct, yes.
When you look at this outbreak, how does it compare to previous outbreaks?
Well, in this case, the outbreak stretches from the East Coast to the West Coast of the United States, involving some 10 to 12 different states. Yes, 12 different states. The numbers of children, as you've indicated, is in the vicinity of about 15 that have been hospitalized. But it would seem that there might be as many as 85 to 100 that have been affected. Not all have been hospitalized.
As you describe this, I mean, it sounds like it's a pretty wide swath here. This outbreak, is this something that folks in Canada should be worried about? Do these sorts of recalls ever make their way to Canada?
Well, often they can. In this case, the product is available online, and so it's quite possible that product has been brought into the country. And in that case, folks should be aware of the product name. There's also indications that there has been shortages of infant formula in Canada periodically, and so there's some pressure, I guess, to access product from sources other than in the country. So it's well worth watching, yes.
For folks who are watching us on YouTube, we're showing photos of the brand name here. It is By Heart Whole Nutrition Infant Formula that might be contaminated. Why are organizations like the media saying they might be contaminated? Why use that kind of language?
Well, the organism is difficult at best to grow. It's an obligate anaerobe. That means that oxygen is actually toxic to it, so it won't grow under normal circumstances that one might use in a laboratory to isolate it from the powder. And the consequence of that is that you have to have a laboratory that has specialized facilities in order to be able to isolate it. And so that difficulty makes it uncertain as to whether or not samples that have actually been examined are in fact negative. And so not infrequently there are false negatives have occurred during analysis, and so that creates a lot of additional uncertainty.
Rick, thank you for the time today. Take good care.
You're more than welcome.
Rick Hawley is a distinguished professor emeritus at the University of Manitoba. His internationally recognized work relates to understanding the risks related to food processing, storage, and handling. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration in the U.S. is saying 15 infants in 12 states have been hospitalized with suspected or confirmed botulism, with data showing By Heart Whole Nutrition Infant Formula may be contaminated. The formula is not sold in Canada, but as Rick mentioned there, because of what seems to be a shortage of baby formula, Canadians may be buying them there as well. So you're asked to be aware of that.
Poor Terry O'Reilly. He's come down with his annual case of brand envy. Our host is jealous of a Madam's Empire of Wax. He's envious of a trademarked ice cream curl.
The cone with the curl on top.
And he's green about Goldfinger. Brand envy on Under the Influence with Terry O'Reilly. Thursday morning at 11:30, 3:30 p.m. in Newfoundland. And on demand on CBC Listen.
Coming up to 22 minutes after 7 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1. Magandang umaga. Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Faith Fundal in for Marcy Marcusa. Winnipeg rock group The Watchmen headlining tonight's sold-out show at the RBC Convention Centre. It's part of the Grey Cup Festival here in our city and features all musicians from this province. Here's The Watchmen with their classic hit. This one's called Stereo.
My life is a stereo. How loud does it go? What songs do I know? Whatever happened to my plans? Whatever happened to life I thought I'd have? My life is a stereo, kinda cheaply made though. How bad does it show? Whatever did become of all my friends? Whatever happened to likes of all my life is a stereo. Turn me on and let's go. Turn me out louder. I'll scream as loud and clear as I can scream. And if you like what you're hearing, please hang on to me. I like being here, and I'm all hooked up wrong. Hang on to me, though I'm one of a million. One of a million. One of a million. Please hang on to me. My life is a stereo, out of phase, but you know, 60 cycles humming. Whatever happened to my friends? Whatever happened to the likes of all I have? I like being here, and I'm all hooked up wrong. Hang on to me, though I'm one of a million. One of a million. One of a million. And my life's a light candle. I'm so afraid of new technology. I'm in the race and I don't want to be. Yeah, I'm so afraid of what's to come for me. I'm in the race and I don't want to be. Life ends in stereo. Pack me up and let's go. Put me anywhere. Please don't think of leaving me behind. Whatever happens to you, I'll get on just fine. One of a million. 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 One of a million.
That's The Watchman with Stereo. 25 minutes after 7 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app, and of course on our CBC Manitoba YouTube stream. We're going to say hello to Scott Reguer joining us now from your CBC National Sports Desk. Good morning.
Nice to talk to you, Faith.
Nice to chat with you as well. And it is the highlight, of course, of Grey Cup week because the CFL Player Awards are going to be doled out tonight. What are we expecting?
Well, a Bombers player to potentially not just win one award tonight, but maybe two. I'm talking about Trey Vival, the team's primary returner this season, and he had a great campaign. Thus, he has a chance to win not only the special teams honor tonight, but the Rookie of the Year as well. So we'll keep a close eye on that. Meanwhile, a very close battle when it comes to deciding the league's most outstanding player, Faith. Hamilton quarterback Bo Levi Mitchell has the gaudier stats, leading everyone in passing yards, passing touchdowns. The list goes on. But BC QB Nathan Rourke isn't far behind. In fact, he has comparable numbers to Mitchell's, having played 2 fewer games. And then there's the fact he's Canadian. The Victoria-born, Oakville-raised Rourke can become the first guy from this country playing the game's most important position to win the CFL's biggest individual award since Russ Jackson, way back in 1969. Many fans would be happy since Rourke loves Canada's football so much. To wit, this is what he said when told most CFL diehards want to get rid of newly proposed rules that would make the game more like the NFL.
They're what drives this league. We're a fan-centered league, and I really feel like we're moving in a direction that clearly fans don't necessarily want. And so I think that it's important to keep them into consideration. Look, I think we all want an exciting game, but ultimately we're driven by the fans' opinion. So I'm glad that there's some people who are getting some things going, and hopefully that's enough to convince the powers that be.
Among other things, the powers that be, Faith, want to shrink the CFL field down in size and move the goalpost back. An Angus Reid poll this week says close to 2/3 of staunch CFL supporters aren't interested in seeing those changes made. So we'll see, and in the meantime, we'll see whether Nathan Rourke can win the Most Outstanding Player award tonight.
Exciting. More to come. Let's talk about golf now and a controversial invitee to a tournament that starts today. Who are we talking about?
So the tournament is the Annika, Faith, the second last event on the LPGA calendar. The controversial invitee is Kai Trump, granddaughter of you-know-who. On the basis of skill, it's a questionable arrangement. Trump's currently 461st in the American junior rankings. But when it comes to name recognition, having the 18-year-old compete is a no-brainer. Her 6 million followers in social media are a testament to that. Annika Sorenstam, for whom today's tournament is named, shared her thoughts.
It make me think about when I played at the Colonial in 2003, and that was at the time maybe a little bit of a controversial invite, but I think it was, just brings attention to the tournament, to the sport, and to women's sport, which I think is what we want. And I want women's golf to succeed, so we can either do this together or we cannot, and I'll choose the first one.
Sorenstam, Faith, referring to the 2003 Colonial, an event that before her involvement was for men only. There was intense public criticism at the time, largely from those who rarely followed women's golf. Kai Trump, by the way, the eldest child of Donald Trump Jr.
Before you go, Scott, let's finish with footy here in a big match for Canada's men's team tonight.
It looks like a chilly match too, Faith. The forecast is for near freezing temperatures in Toronto, which might not bode well for opponents Ecuador. On paper, though, the South Americans are the favorites. They're ranked 5 spots ahead of Canada by FIFA at number 23 in the world. Much of that is down to defense. Le Tricolore managed 10 shutouts during World Cup qualifying, including against Lionel Messi and Argentina. So a stiff test for an already offensively challenged Canadian side. I am going to this game with my elementary school-age son who loves footy but hates the cold. Could be interesting. I'm hoping goals keep him entertained, but I am not convinced that will happen. That kicks off at 6:30 Central Time. And the Jets, they're in action tonight in Seattle against the Kraken. Dylan Sandberg, the defenseman, might be back from his broken wrist. Puck drop at 9 o'clock.
Hand warmers and feet warmers. Always helpful.
Won't be making much clapping sounds with those puppies on, but I'll be wearing them.
Other people can clap. All right, thanks very much.
Okay.
Scott Reguer from your CBC National Sports Desk. I'm Faith Fundal in for Marcy Marcusa. More to come after the news.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, still 1 degree in downtown Winnipeg. It's going to be a glorious November day. Sunshine and high of 6 this afternoon. An advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls says Canada must do more to protect them from killers like Sean Lamb. Lamb is being released from prison. He admitted to the 2012 deaths of Carolyn Sinclair and Lorna Blacksmith and was sentenced to 20 years minus time served. This month, the Parole Board of Canada granted the 66-year-old statutory release, but he's ordered to live at least 6 months in a halfway house or psychiatric facility. Hilda Anderson-Pierce at the National Family Survivors Circles wants a stronger commitment from the Canadian government and for the MMIWG inquiry's calls for justice.
We continue to wait for that transformative action. We continue to die. We continue to experience violence, and we continue to go missing at alarming rates. So, we really need this country to honor the inherent and human rights of Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit and gender diverse people.
The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs and Manitoba Kuwaitanui Okamakanats say they are outraged with Lamb's release. They want a review of statutory release provisions for Lamb and other violent offenders. Those hoping to get a free ride on a Winnipeg bus may have to find another way to get around. The city's been stepping up efforts to combat bus fare evasion since September and says the crackdown has led to nearly 5,000 would-be riders denied in just over 2 months. Derek Hanley at the Transit Union says the public knows the free ride is over.
People need to know there's new sheriffs in town and that they're going to be enforcing this policy going forward, which is a fair policy.
and the city will start to see the difference in revenue coming in through the transit service that they haven't in 15 plus years.
Hanley says the union hopes the city continues the enforcement campaign confronting that long-standing issue that puts drivers, he says, and passengers' safety at risk and leads to millions in annual losses. The city of Winnipeg says fare evasion costs transit between $7 million and $10 million every year. Some people in the 500 block of William Avenue have been forced out of their homes as fire crews douse flames in a vacant house. Now, that fire started just after 11:30 last night, and while the fire is now out, crews are still on the scene watching for hot spots. Once conditions allow, the city says it will assess whether that house will be torn down. For now, William is closed between Juneau and Kate. The owner of a private rail port in southern Manitoba wants to know why the province provided an $18 million grant to help start a rival business. CBC's Bartley Kivas reports.
I still have a difficult time understanding the logic.
Rail Tetro is the founder of Mid-Canada Transload Service, a privately owned inland port alongside Highway 75 and the CN rail line just south of L'Atelier. Tetro said he was flabbergasted to learn this summer that the former PC government gave an $18 million grant to a potential competitor.
I couldn't believe that the government of the day would put an outright grant to start up a company to compete against us.
The grant was issued right before the 2023 election. It went to John Q. Public, a company owned by 11 Manitoba municipalities, to buy land and conduct studies to build a rail port up the highway in the arm of Reachot. Barry Prentice at the U of M's Transport Institute says this might not prove fatal to Tetro's business.
Yes, they might lose some traffic, but I don't think this is a death knell for them by any stretch of the imagination.
The NDP government is still reviewing the railport grant issued by its PC predecessor. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Prime Minister Mark Carney will be in Terrace, BC today, rolling out his government's next list of so-called nation-building projects. And CBC News has confirmed it will include BC's North Coast transmission line running from Prince George to Terrace. Among other projects expected to get the fast track, a nickel mine in Ontario, a critical minerals mine in New Brunswick, and a hydroelectric project in Nunavut. You can hear more national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. Grey Cup week is underway, and if you didn't snag tickets to the big game before it sold out, don't worry. There are still lots of ways to celebrate the biggest week in Canadian football, like concerts or parties at RBC Convention Centre. For some visitors, Blue Bombers president Wade Miller says the Manitoba social experience starts as soon as they arrive.
When visitors from out of town, when they arrive at the airport, we're going to greet them with a social. We got an arrival social when they arrive, got a little charcuterie board, which is like what you would get at the socials, and then all the information about the great Grey Cup week that's coming up.
I love that charcuterie board. One of the other main events is a free street festival starting today on Spence Street near the University of Winnipeg. You can play interactive games, enjoy live music, and if you're inclined, try your hand at some football drills like passing or tackling. You can find more news at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
And Heather, we don't have to go very far away.
No, we don't. Right? I saw the road closed right beside our building.
I heard the music yesterday. I was like,
really?
What is why is there such loud music? I thought, oh, right, because there's a party outside. So I think people are going to be having a lot of fun out there. So you don't have to go to the game. You can still experience Grey Cup week without going to the game and sort of say hello to our prairie cousins and some of the folks from Montreal as well, right?
Yeah, still a good time.
Yep, it will be a good time. All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Heather Wells from your CBC Winnipeg local news desk. We're about 36 and a half minutes after 7 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, on the app and on our CBC Manitoba YouTube stream. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. And lots to come in this half hour. The PWHL having its first ever puck drop in Winnipeg. We'll speak to a PWHL goalie inspired by other Manitobans who paved the way for her. and now gets to experience a hometown game. Also, later this half hour, Crown attorneys with Manitoba Justice share their insights into the challenges of prosecuting sex assault cases and how they are trying to overcome them. Stay tuned for more on that coming up here in this half hour of the program. First, though, Abby Adiemi joining us with a look at what to expect in the ways of weather.
Plenty of sunshine on its way for the southern part of the province, while up north it's going to stay cooler with lingering clouds and snow on the way. Light winds and mild air would definitely make things feel pleasant for those that we attending events this evening in Winnipeg. Right now, 1 degree at the Forks, clear skies. We should see sunshine very, very soon, and we warm up to 6 degrees with light winds later. Similar conditions across the southern part of the province. The Pembina Valley region at -2 at this time, Brandon at -6, Dauphin -4, Gimli -3. All regions will see sunshine and a bit of southeast breeze this afternoon, while up north we're looking at -6 near Depar. We're seeing -4 near Thompson and -7 with light snow falling right now in Churchill. And don't forget, we still have that special weather statement in effect for parts of Manitoba, spreading from Thompson all the way towards Churchill. We're looking at about 25 centimeters of snow possible into Saturday, so brace for that. But right now, Winnipeg, we are at 1 degree.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Corey Funk, following the commute so far, it's been busy.
Yes, particularly around William Avenue. All morning, William Avenue between Juno Street and Kate Street has been closed, that intersection, due to a fire. And it is expected to be closed throughout the morning and possibly even later into the day. So you might want to avoid that area. That's William Avenue between Juno and Kate Street. Also, I mentioned earlier that southbound Lajimordier at Fermor, there was a stall, but that has now been towed. So you don't have to worry about that. But if you do see something going on out there, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line, whether you're walking, biking, driving. That number, 204-788-3093.
21 minutes before 8 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1. And the Professional Women's Hockey League is coming to Winnipeg. Yes, they are. The Ottawa Charge taking on the Montreal Victoire at Canada Life Centre on March 2026. You might be wondering why we're talking about this now. It's because pre-sale tickets go on sale later this morning. And our province will be represented by 3 Manitobans on ice. So exciting. Logan Angers is one of them. She's a backup goalie for the Ottawa Charge. Growing up in Winnipeg, she cheered for the Jets, and now Winnipeg will very likely be cheering for you as well. Logan joins us on the line now. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You must be so excited. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I think it's just kind of a surreal moment thinking about how we're going to be able to, play a professional women's hockey game in Winnipeg. It's really awesome.
And you'll get to see your family and friends as well. Have you spoken to them about this?
Yeah, I've spoken to a lot of them about this. You always see at these games, they have 100 people in support, and I think, how do they have that many people? And now that there's a game in Winnipeg, the amount of people reaching out to me, and I'm like, yeah, it adds up quickly. There's so many people wanting to, share that support and love. It's awesome.
Have you had a chance to count how many people might be coming to watch you?
So far, I think I have a group of about 15, a group of 20, and a group of 25. So
it's a lot of people cheering for you.
Yeah.
When you think about hockey, I mean, what role would you say hockey played in your childhood?
Yeah, I think I grew up basically skating as soon as I could walk. So I think hockey has always been a huge part of my life and my family's life. I think it was always, that team sport that I could go play and have fun at, and also compete at. And
you grew up with 2 brothers, so it was something that the 3 of you would do together. You started at 5. I also understand that you played softball growing up. We've talked about this before as well. What made you want to do the switch?
I think that both sports I just loved so much, but I knew hockey was kind of where I was going to be able to excel the most. And obviously at that point we didn't know there was a professional women's hockey league, but that all turned out pretty well for me, being able to make a career out of it. It's been really awesome.
Do you remember if there were folks you looked up to when you were little?
Yeah, I think when I was little, if we're talking, hockey players, women's hockey players, it was kind of the time of Shannon Sabados for Canada, so she was a goalie that I always looked up to, as well as Kristen Campbell. I think just having another Manitoban goalie, watching her succeed at the college level and then the Olympics was really awesome. And now, I get to work alongside her. And then obviously I watched the Jets when they came back and loved Hellebuck too. So.
Well, what was the first thing you said to Kristen Campbell when you first met her?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know.
Must have been
Probably
quite
something not very exciting.
must have been quite the moment though, because she was someone who you saw and had an impact on you.
For sure. I think when I first met her, it was definitely probably a little bit scary. But now we run a camp together every summer, and so now it's that familiarity, and it's really awesome to work with her.
Logan, talk about what it was like when the Ottawa Charge asked you to join them last year. How was that? How did you receive all of that?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, like I said, we didn't know that this league was ever going to exist, and so finding out that it existed and it was going to be a league that you could build a career off of was awesome. And then finding out that I was going to be able to be a part of it was just incredible. It didn't feel real at first, and then it kind of hits you that I get to be a hockey player for my job.
What was that conversation like with your close friends and family? Did you even have to think about it, or was it okay? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I don't think there was much thought, honestly. I think you get that opportunity, you take it. There's really nowhere else I'd rather be. So being able to get that opportunity, obviously you consult people, see what they think, and everyone's just so excited. And obviously, yes.
You've mentioned that you're a Winnipeg Jets fan. You wore number 37 in university because of Connor Hellebuck. Now you'll be playing on the Winnipeg Jets home ice. Where does all of that land for you? How do you take all of that and make it into something?
Yeah, I think that, the idea of it now is crazy, but I think the first time we even step on the ice for a practice in Winnipeg, it's going to be like, man, yeah, this is where I've grown up watching the NHL, and now I get to be a part of it. And it's going to be really awesome.
Is there a question that I'm sure you've spoken to a lot of folks now. Is there a question you wish they asked you about all of this that no one still has asked you and you want someone to ask so you can say things out loud?
Oh, no, honestly, I don't think so. I feel like we've got all the bases covered here.
Logan, thanks for making time today, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Logan Andrews is a backup goalie for the Ottawa Charge. You'll see her at the Canada Life Centre March 22nd for the PWHL's Takeover Series. If you have season tickets to the Manitoba Moose or Jets, you are eligible for the pre-sale today. It starts at 10 a.m. General ticket sales start tomorrow at thepwhl.com/tickets. That's thepwhl.com/tickets.
This is Cross Country Checkup. For the first time ever, a regularly scheduled national open line program.
And so it began. Hi, I'm Ian Hanamansing. 60 years ago, Checkup broke the mold by handing the mic to everyday Canadians. To celebrate, we'll be in Charlottetown, our next stop on Checkup's Cross Canada tour. Our topic, how are you coping without a family doctor? What impact has it had on your health? That's Checkup from Charlottetown, Sunday at 4 Eastern on CBC Radio 1.
I'm Suresh Das. I've spent my career writing about the local favorites that make Canada's food scene truly unique. I bit into a chili. Woo! From vibrant street food to comforting traditional dishes.
The most important ingredients in jollof rice, love.
To innovative, personal twists. Butter chicken lasagna.
Butter chicken lasagna. Yeah. That's what made it all happen.
I believe every bite tells a story. Now, I want to share those stories with you.
New series Locals Welcome with Suresh Das. Watch free on CBC Gem.
15 minutes before 8 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, on the app and on our CBC Manitoba YouTube stream. Right now here in downtown Winnipeg, mainly clear and 1 degree. We are expecting for Winnipeg today, sunny conditions with a high of 6 degrees with a bit of a wind up to 15 kilometers an hour. Stay tuned because coming up in our next half hour of the program, we'll hear more from the family members we'll hear a reaction to a story you've been hearing on your CBC Manitoba, CBC Winnipeg News. A man convicted of killing 2 women expected to be out of prison soon after statutory release. After serving 2/3 of his sentence, we'll hear what the sister of one of his victims thinks about it. She'll join us in studio just after the 8 o'clock World Report. We're at about 47 minutes after 7 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1. And now more on our special report about sex assault survivors and the justice system. But first, a caution, this may affect those who have experienced sexual violence or know someone affected by it. Next week, a specially appointed federal task force will release the results of their investigation into how the courts treat sex assault cases, and more specifically, the survivors at the heart of them. Yesterday, we heard from some of those survivors. Today, we're going to hear from Manitoba Justice. Renee Lagimodier and Chantal Boutin are both Crown attorneys who prosecute some of the sex assault cases here. They sat down with the CBC's Donna Carrero to share some of their insights and legal challenges in navigating them.
Tell me about the challenges or what people don't understand about the burden of proof in particularly in these kind of cases.
For a conviction to be entered, the Crown must prove the offense beyond a reasonable doubt. So that's obviously a very high standard. So I think that's an important starting point to understand that the challenges, because it isn't about, do I believe the survivor? Rare is the day that I hear a story of somebody's trauma and they're interacting with what they have carried for years sometimes, or moments sometimes. And I'm not hearing these stories and saying, I don't believe this. But that's unfortunately not the legal test, right? And so I think it's really important for survivors to understand that it's not, if their matter doesn't proceed in the court process or the Crown attorney doesn't believe that it will meet the standard, that isn't because they're simply not believed. It's an examination of a big picture of what evidence will be admissible in the case.
What is it about sex assault cases? Because what you're describing, the burden of proof, every case that you have to examine has to have that, right? What's different about these ones?
With sexual violence cases, these are cases that often happen behind closed doors in private settings, and there's not necessarily other witnesses to the event. So part of the challenge that you have is establishing that standard of proof in light of the other evidence that will be presented, and that might be a different version of events. And of course, the survivor themselves may not know the other evidence that's before the court. We're not allowed, nor is it permissible for us to share the evidence in its totality with any witness.
But assault survivors don't necessarily feel like they're the ones having to prove this happened to me. I was attacked, I was beaten up, because it's obvious, I guess.
There might be other evidence that we can point to. So the police who attend the scene and right after it happens and see, a phone pulled out of the wall or something like that, that is helpful in assessing the other evidence. We don't often see that in sexual assaults because as we've learned in society, the trauma that comes from being a survivor of sexual assaults plays out differently in each individual, and they will choose to report at different times.
What other challenges do you see when you have cases of this kind?
We ask a lot of survivors through the court process. They have to detail often what has happened. Well, always. They have to detail what happened to them in a public setting, in front of a judge, in front of a jury. Part of our task is to make sure that survivors feel ready for that process.
And I think that's a common misconception in society, is that a Crown attorney is the survivor's lawyer, and we're not the survivor's lawyer. We often have the same interests in terms of we believe that there is a reasonable likelihood of conviction. We believe that a sexual assault has happened. We believe we have evidence to put before the court to establish that and to make those arguments.
There was one other thing I wanted to explain as well about the process and when survivors are may be contacted or involved. And part of it is when a survivor goes to the police and they make their report. To them, that's the beginning of this process. And understandably so. They have bared their soul. They've told this story. They're now interacting with what they're carrying. And so for them, that is the beginning of this process. What they may not know is that the police may have to do other forms of investigations. They're collecting evidence that's available in other ways. And the matter itself may not be into the hands of a prosecutor for many months. right? And so in their mind, they're thinking, why hasn't anybody contacted me? And why have I not been told where things are at?
So the definition of consent.
Yes.
Because you both, like immediately when I said the definition of consent, you both like, yes. That's an issue. What is it? What is it that people don't get about that definition?
At the heart of it, one of the things that the Crown has to prove in a sexual assault is that there's a lack of consent, that the complainant did not consent. So what does that mean? Is the complainant able to understand the physical act that they're going to be engaging in? That act is sexual in nature, the specific identity of the individual that they're going to be engaging in that act with, and that they have a choice. And that choice is that they can participate or refuse. And this becomes important. You didn't talk about intoxication, but I suspect that is something that you will talk about.
Do you hear this a lot, that people think because I was drunk, I could not have formed consent?
I think we hear it, yeah. And I think that it's something that is confusing for individuals. There is no place for the idea that because you're intoxicated, you're not credible or you're not believable, right? That shouldn't impact your credibility. But where you might see intoxication becoming relevant is whether or not it affects your reliability. So your ability to accurately remember what happened. And of course, you circle back to that burden of proof and the evidence that we're asking a trier of fact to consider. Is it reliable? What you can establish in terms of what state of intoxication they were in at that time.
If there's one thing that I wish I could say to survivors is that it isn't about not believing. We believe you. That it's just doesn't equate with what is required to satisfy a burden of proof. And that is never a satisfactory answer, for somebody that has experienced intense trauma. Yeah. It just isn't, and I won't pretend it is.
The other issue of it is that survivors have talked about, they were asked, so at any point did you say no? And one survivor put it to me, I don't know if I didn't say no, but I never said yes, and I was terrified.
If a survivor's indicating to me, or in the process of giving their account, that they felt terrified, they felt scared for their life, I don't care whether she said yes if she meant and in her being did not have free will. That doesn't even factor into the equation. She could say yes. I mean, I might say yes if I was in that same position.
Sure, but when it comes to the burden of proof and you have to prove
Yes.
that in court, does that not add an extra layer of challenge?
It could, for sure, it could.
So in what you've described, I'm taken in a car, I can't get out of this car, I'm Indigenous, I'm taken to the perimeter, and I don't say yes and I don't say no, but I'm fearful, then the Crown is going to do its best effort to lead that evidence and to argue if there was any consent, it was vitiated because she was afraid. And it can make it really difficult to argue these cases. In a jury trial where you have to give instructions, legal instructions to a jury about how they're going to make these decisions.
When I think about, what would I say to a person a survivor that felt like their voice is not heard, even if their story is not told in a courtroom, their story matters.
Thank you so very much, both of you.
Thank you so much for having us and allowing us to participate in this important conversation.
Those were the voices of Manitoba Crown attorneys Chantal Boutin and before that Renee Lajemodier, speaking with CBC producer Donna Carrero.
Hi, I'm Matea Roach, and I have a show on CBC. It's called Bookends. Every week, authors from Canada and around the world will join me to discuss their latest books. We'll have best-selling authors and rising stars. Our conversations will be smart and surprising, because when the book ends, the conversation begins.
Bookends with Matea Roach, Sunday afternoon at 1:30 in Newfoundland, 3 Pacific, and on demand on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The Great Canadian Baking Show is back.
Hello, beautiful bakers, and welcome to the tent.
10 contestants.
On your marks.
Get set, bake.
All hoping for the sweet smell of success.
I am at the stage of panic.
Just gotta say a little prayer.
I'm in heaven.
Wow. I haven't even tasted it, and I'm happy.
I forgot to put in the eggs.
Is anyone else uncontrollably shaking right now?
It's a new season of The Great Canadian Baking Show. Watch free on CBC Gem.
56.5 minutes after 7 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1. Let's head to your CBC Winnipeg local news desk, and Heather Wells joining us with a look at news headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs and Manitoba Keewatin Nawi Okanagan, or MKO, the Northern Chiefs Group, both say they are outraged. And a national advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and their families says she is deeply concerned. They're talking about Sean Lamb's release from prison. He admitted to the 2012 deaths of Carolyn Sinclair and Lorna Blacksmith and was sentenced to 20 years minus time served. This month, the Parole Board of Canada granted the 66-year-old statutory release. Some people in the 500 block of William Avenue have been forced from their homes as fire crews doused flames in a vacant house. The fire started after 11:30 last night, and while the fire is mostly out, crews are still on the scene. And once conditions allow, the city says it will assess whether that house is going to be torn down. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 8:30.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
That's Heather Wells from your CBC Winnipeg local news desk. Corey Funk is back for an update on the commute. I know Heather talked about that thing that's been keeping folks busy this morning too.
Yes, that William Avenue there should be a problem probably throughout the morning. Would love to get some updates though from people who maybe see what's going on, how busy it might be there. Also know that today, as that Grey Cup Festival kicks off, probably here around the studio, it's going to get busy as well because right beside us is where the Grey Cup Festival festivities are happening. There's a street fest going on. There's tents, everything going on. So imagine if people are coming to park, it might be a little bit busy here around Portage and Spence. But if you see something going on, give me a call, 204-788-3093.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Corey Funk, our studio director here on the program, Abby Adiemi on the controls today, and Darren Marash is our streaming producer. You can find us on our CBC Manitoba streaming page as well. YouTube page is what I'm trying to say. Mainly clear, 1 degree here in downtown Winnipeg. We'll get a full look at your weather forecast coming up here on Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. I'm Faith Fundal in for Marcy Marcusa. World Report is standing by.
Today on Q.
I'm Talia Schlanger in for Tom Power. Earlier this year, the film Sentimental Value broke applause records at the Cannes International Film Festival. You will hear from Elle Fanning, who stars in the movie, about that moment and the similarities between her life and her character.
I want to try it all. It's exciting to get to experience that.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
There's a lot of talk about parents tracking their kids' location on their phone, but a lot of Gen Zers share their location with friends, colleagues, and romantic partners to show they care. Why that is starting to creep some of them out, coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. Today we will learn where some more of the Carney government's generational investment money is going. Prime Minister Mark Carney will be in northern BC to announce the latest projects recommended for fast tracking and support. CBC News has confirmed the list will include a power line running from Prince George to Terrace, BC. Let's bring in Janice McGregor from our Parliamentary Bureau. Janice, why is this transmission line so important?
BC's 450-kilometre North Coast transmission line is a massive hydroelectric project. It's already approved, boosted with $6 billion in funding from the BC government. Shovels are set to hit the ground as early as next year. But this upgrade to BC's grid is necessary to fuel all the strategic resource development planned for northern BC, the mining of critical minerals, and specifically the new liquefied natural gas plant expansions, pipelines, and marine terminals to ship that resource to new global markets.
Janice, this is the third major project that involves LNG in northern BC. What are environmental groups saying about that?
Yeah, because while it's a cleaner fuel, resulting in fewer carbon emissions than the dirtier alternatives like coal that it's intended to displace and replace in parts of Asia, it's still a fossil fuel. And seeing any new fossil fuel development prioritized by the federal government's Major Projects Office, well, that's a disappointment to environmentalists like Richard Brooks with Stand Earth.
It's a real slap in the face to be announcing a carbon bomb in the middle of a climate summit. And it makes me question what happened to Mark Carney's climate credentials.
While the Nisga'a First Nation is a partner in the Silism's LNG project, other BC First Nations elders and leaders are more aligned with climate activists, and they do oppose ramping up LNG generally and the specific new pipeline projects that would move through their territory.
Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
After 43 days, the longest government shutdown in U.S. history is over. U.S. President Donald Trump signed a spending bill late last night after a vote of approval from the House of Representatives. Ira Spitzer is following the story for us from Washington. Ira, what does this now mean for all those workers who were furloughed or had to work without pay?
So things will return to normal very quickly here in Washington. In fact, many federal workers have been told to report to work today on Thursday following the end of this shutdown. So we're definitely going to see a return to work. As far as actually being paid, in the past, it's taken about a week for those unpaid workers to receive their back pay. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has said that air traffic controllers, that they will actually receive the first 70% of their back pay within 24 to 48 hours of the shutdown ending. 70,000 federal employees were furloughed during this shutdown, and then about 730,000 employees have actually been working without pay during the shutdown. So for those people, a paycheck coming very soon.
Ira, let's talk about food aid. When can Americans expect federal programs like the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program to resume?
Yeah, well, that was, of course, a major problem for those more than 40 million Americans who receive food assistance as those benefits were cut over the last couple weeks. Now, a spokeswoman for the White House Budget Office has insisted that those food stamp benefits will be restored very quickly, within hours even of the shutdown ending. We'll see how long that actually takes. But for some other programs, it could be a bit longer. But the goal and the hope, of course, is to get things back to normal as soon as possible.
Ira Spitzer in Washington. Thanks, Ira.
Thank you.
Authorities in Iran are warning the 10 million residents of Tehran they may have to leave the capital. The country's experiencing its worst drought in decades, and with the taps running dry, the scramble begins to get drinking water to those who need it most. Anna Cunningham has more.
Drinking water from a roadside fountain in Tehran. The authorities are asking people to save water. It's clear that this crisis is very serious, says Fardin Hadavand. He has seen demand rise at the water tank shop where he works. Hopefully it will rain, he says. This is Iran's 6th year of drought. The capital depends entirely on 5 dams fed from rivers outside. They are running dry. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has warned of rationing, and if there is no rain by November 22nd, he says they must evacuate Tehran.
It's drying up. It's almost dead.
Looking at satellite images of Iran from Toronto, Iranian Kaveh Madani is alarmed. He is the director of the United Nations University Institute for Water, Environment and Health.
So far, it has been also much drier than usual. No rain happening across the whole country, and this is new to Iran.
He says this is not just about changes to Iran's climate.
The issue of mismanagement is real. A problem like this was not created overnight.
The stakes are high for Iran's clerical rulers. Previous water shortages have sparked violent protests. In a country where the economy is under pressure from international sanctions linked to its disputed nuclear program, rain is desperately needed. But there is hardly any in the forecast. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
France is marking a grim anniversary today, 10 years since a series of coordinated terrorist attacks. A day-long commemoration begins at the Stade de France just outside of Paris, where the first victim, Manuel Diaz, was killed.
On nous dit de tourner la page 10 ans après, mais l'absence est immense. Le choc est intact.
We're told to turn the page 10 years later, but the absence is immense, says Manuel's daughter, Sophie Diaz, outside the stadium. The shock is still raw, and incomprehension still reigns, she says. The ceremony moves to Café Terraces in the 10th and 11th arrondissement, and then finally the Bataclan Concert Hall, the site of the deadliest attack of the day. 132 people were killed, hundreds of others were injured on November 13th, 2015. Victoria, the first state in Australia to sign a treaty with Indigenous people into law. Advocates are calling it a major step towards reconciliation. The treaty establishes a permanent First Nations representative to provide advice to the state government, and it creates an accountability body that will ensure the government upholds its commitments. Reuben Berg is the co-chair of the First Nations, or rather the First Peoples Assembly of Victoria.
To my mind, we sat there as equals to sign that document. That is fundamentally about what this process has been about recognising our equal status to be able to sit at that table. We will get from this not just better outcomes for First Peoples, better outcomes for Victoria, better outcomes for Australia.
Australia has roughly 1 million Indigenous citizens. They track well below national averages on most socioeconomic measures. And this treaty will require the government to apologize to Indigenous people for historical injustices. The Northern Lights are gracing Canadian skies over BC, the prairies, the territories, and parts of Northern Ontario and Quebec this week. And if you've been lucky enough to catch the nighttime show, you may have noticed it's exceptional this time round. CBC's Emma Jo tells us why.
This is a really good time for it.
Scott Young, astronomer with the Manitoba Museum in Winnipeg, says the auroras have been brighter than usual. He says the solar cycle might have something to do with it.
The energy from the sun that drives the northern lights varies over about an 11-year cycle, and we're kind of at the top of that. So we've been seeing quite a bit of northern lights over the last year or so, and probably for the next year.
Frank Florian, senior manager of space sciences at the TELUS World of Science in Edmonton, says the recent auroras were uncommonly red. That has something to do with the particles from the sun, which excite gas molecules in the upper atmosphere, giving off the warm hue. Florian says they were also uncommonly large.
The auroral oval is further north, but when you get these really strong events, that auroral oval moves further towards the south. And in fact, this auroral oval stretched as far down as being able to be seen from Florida and Texas and even some places in Mexico.
For those who want to catch a glimpse of the northern lights while they're still big and bright, Florian recommends visiting rural areas away from light pollution. Emma Jo, CBC News, Edmonton.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. If you're looking for tools to talk about the day's big stories with some of the little people in your life, you can check out cbckidsnews.ca, cbckidsnews.ca. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Magandang umaga, good morning Manitoba. Faith Fundal here in Studio 15 at Portage and Spence. I'm in for Marcy Marcusa this Thursday morning. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. Coming up in this last half hour of the program, we're going to hear from the new provincial seniors advocate about her role and what she is looking to accomplish in her 5-year term. We'll replay an interview from Up to Speed yesterday coming up here in this half hour. First, though, as you've been hearing, a man convicted of killing 2 Indigenous women has been given statutory release, and the family of his victims has concerns. We'll speak with the sister of one of his victims coming up next year on Up to Speed, Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, on the app and on our CBC Manitoba YouTube stream. Stay tuned. It's mainly sunny and -4 degrees here in downtown Winnipeg. We are expecting mainly sunny conditions today and a temperature high of 6 degrees. We'll get a full look at your forecast shortly. First, though, to your CBC Winnipeg local news desk, and Heather Wells joining us now. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, the free ride is over. That from a Winnipeg Transit Union executive. Transit says nearly 5,000 riders have been denied, an early result of a fare enforcement push expected to save transit millions in unpaid fares. Derek Hanley says people need to know there's a new sheriff in town. The owner of a private rail port in southern Manitoba wants to know why the province provided an $18 million grant to help start a rival business. We'll hear that story as well in our next local news coming up at 8:30.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Heather Wells from your CBC Winnipeg local news desk. Abby Adeyemi has been following the forecast and...
The sunshine is out and it's spreading through the south, my friend. Though we still have light snow, brushing parts of the northern regions this morning, where we have that special statement in place impacting from Thompson all the way to Churchill this morning. Winnipeg right now, we're tracking -4 at the airport and 0 at the Forks. It's sunny outside. Expect this sunny and breezy afternoon to be what the menu would serve for today, and we warm up to 6 degrees across south. It's clear and calm this morning. Temperatures ranging from -8 in Brandon to -3 in Gimli, and sunshine will last through the day. Up north, we're seeing light snowfall in Churchill already. 0 at the Forks.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Abby Adeyemi, following your forecast today. He's also on the controls. And thanks to Darren Morash, who is our streaming producer, making us look and sound good on our CBC Manitoba YouTube stream. Corey Funk is following your commute this morning.
Yes, the biggest issue all morning has been on William Avenue between Juno Street and Kate Street. There was a fire there in a vacant building, and that has that whole section closed. That's William between Juno and Kate. And that's expected to be closed pretty much for the entire morning and possibly even into the afternoon, says the city. So heads up, you may want to just avoid that area in general. Other than that, it's been fairly smooth. But if you see anything else going on out there, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number 204-788-3093.
Coming up to 14 minutes after 8 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1. As you've been hearing on your CBC Winnipeg News, a man who's admitted to killing 2 women in Winnipeg will soon be given statutory release after serving 2/3 of his 20-year sentence. Sean Lamb pleaded guilty to 2 counts of manslaughter in 2012 for the slayings of Carolyn Sinclair of Matthias Cologne Cree Nation and Lorna Blacksmith of Pimachikamak Cree Nation. Once released, the 66-year-old must live at a halfway house or psychiatric facility for at least 6 months. Lamb was originally charged with 3 counts of second-degree murder for the alleged killing of Tanya Nipanak. Crown prosecutors decided to stay that charge because of what they describe as a lack of evidence. The families of Lorna Blacksmith, Carolyn Sinclair, and Tanya Nipanak, along with Morgan's Warriors, are hosting a rally later today to protest his release. Paige Papanakis is the sister of Lorna Blacksmith. Jasmine Mann is the daughter of Tanya Nipanak, and both join us in studio. Hello, welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Paige, how did you find out about this?
I found out about this news. I got a call, and we found out on Facebook.
Well, how did that all land when you discovered this on social media of all places?
My first thought, I didn't know what to think because I didn't expect it. I didn't know that it was coming this soon, and it's too soon. And I think that I still don't know how to feel, but I know that we are going to keep fighting for justice for our people.
You said that it came too soon. Were you expecting something like this? Were you told that something like this might happen?
In 2012, I remember the trial, and I remember hearing that soon one day he would be out. I didn't think that it would only be 12 to 13 years later.
Lamb must be released at this time according to the law. He also must abide by several conditions like living at a halfway house, abstaining from drugs and alcohol, among other things. When you hear about those conditions and when you hear about the law there, what sorts of things come up? What concerns do you have?
In a whole, I just don't think that's acceptable for all women in Manitoba and Winnipeg. I think that the parole office and government need to review what they're gonna be doing and need to think about it again, because that does put danger on the streets.
Well, I wonder if you thought about what you think should happen in cases where killers have reached this point in their sentence, or people who've been found guilty of these crimes having served their sentences. What do you think should happen?
Killing anyone, I think that you should be put away and get proper help. And as far as killing 3 people, I think that you do need to be put away and to get help. And I think 13 years is not enough, and he hasn't healed in 13 years. I mean, how do you heal about killing 3 people?
How are you feeling right now? Well, in the context of healing.
I feel like my sister just passed away yesterday when I found out the news again. I felt like it just reopened the wound, and I'm just gonna keep on trying to make what's right.
Jasmine, this must be especially difficult for you as well, because in this case, prosecutors stayed the charges related to your mother's death. What message are you hoping to send at today's rally?
I guess just being her voice as well and trying to give her justice. And also just for other women, raising awareness and like letting people know that he's going to be walking around freely, and it's putting, a bunch of other women in the community at risk. And yeah, I just feel like everyone should know about it, and he shouldn't be like walking around comfortably, to be honest.
Paige, why do you want people to come to this rally today?
I want people to come to this rally to know that no one is going to walk over First Nations women ever again. I mean, look what happened for the past 2 to 3 years. Search the Landfill was a very big thing. And I just want everyone to know that myself, Jasmine, and Elle have all played a pretty big role in helping with that. And I think that we can do it all over again, and especially for my sister and Jasmine's mom and Caroline Sinclair.
Mm-hmm.
Jasmine, what do you hope people think about as they listen to our conversation?
I want them to remember my mom. I obviously, now that he's going to be out in the public, I want, her name to be out there, and for him to hear this too, honestly. I just want her name to be out there.
Thank you both for coming in to talk about this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Paige Papanakis is the sister of Lorna Blacksmith, Jasmine Mann, the daughter of Tanya Nipanak. You can read more about this on our website with details of what happened at cbc.ca/Manitoba. And if you are affected by the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQ+ folks and need immediate emotional assistance, there is help. The national hotline is 1-844-413-6649, 1-844-413-6649.
On This Is Manitoba, we celebrate who we are, and we lean into the challenges here that can make this place even better. I'm Marcy Marcusa, host of This Is Manitoba. On the podcast, we tackle one topic in a new episode every Friday. It's always about us, the news, and the people here. Get into some local listening. Find and follow This Is Manitoba wherever you get your podcasts.
Coming up to 21 minutes after 8 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1. Yesterday was the first day on the job for the new provincial seniors advocate. Leanne Caron stepping into the role to represent and advocate on behalf of seniors in Manitoba. She'll be required to make reports and recommendations to the legislature in a public manner. Now, it is the first independent advocate for seniors the province has seen. I spoke with her yesterday on Up to Speed about how she feels as she starts her brand new job.
I'm feeling good, feeling very positive and hopeful as I look forward to having staff eventually in the office and processes for being able to accept people's concerns and submissions to the office. But being first day, none of that is built yet. So I'm just figuring out what I need to move forward to build that staff in the office.
It seems like everything is going to be new. But this isn't new for you because you got your start in seniors advocacy as a teen in Alberta. What do you remember about that work in that very rural Alberta long-term care home?
Yeah, I don't have great memories of a lot of things, but I have very good memories of working there for 2 summers. And yeah, I just remember working closely with the senior. Like, I was an activity worker, so I got to do exercises with them and take them on walks and do fun things like gardening. But also in those times of doing activities, the seniors learned that there was issues when they go for walks because I couldn't get their wheelchairs over the sidewalks, and never really thought about that before working with them. So did things like wrote letters to town council, and tried to make as much as they wanted to, but they very, a lot of them wanted to be out in the community because they were pillars of their community at one time. So did things like had them in the annual parade and got them involved in other activities in the town that they weren't necessarily involved in before. So.
Right. You spoke about breaking rules in today's Winnipeg Free Press piece. What rules were you talking about?
I don't know if they were formal rules or just guidelines. Like when I would take them for a walk, I was told to not take them by their old homes because it would be upsetting, or I don't know. But, once I was out for walks, it was pretty hard for me to not, take them where they wanted to go if they were able to tell me. So we would go by their old homes and spend some time just talking and reminiscing. And so that was kind of breaking those rules or guidelines about, I don't know. It could have been protectionist, or I don't know what it was. But
there was something about those rules that you didn't accept the premise of.
Yeah, I think it was just really spending time listening to what the folks I was working with wanted, and it wasn't a rule that really held up. And so being able to just be with them and spend time on a walk and talk about where they used to live brought them joy, and also trickled down to, family members who would come and visit them and then be able to hear about their experience of going to their old, it seems pretty simple now, of just going to your old home, but it was a big deal at the time and for them. So yeah, it didn't hold up for me of just something pretty simple that we could do.
Well, have you thought about how you intend to use those years of lived experience in the work that you do now?
Well, I think a really big piece of it is being open to listening and for me, I want to have good processes in place so that it isn't just listening and not doing anything with it, that we have a way to listen and then figure out how to move forward on some of the concerns people are bringing forward, or even best practices that people are bringing forward, so that we can look at it sort of like a whole Manitoba approach for seniors and see what change needs to happen.
One of those concerns includes something from a coalition of seniors groups, which has called for more adequate housing options. Is that something that's on your radar as well?
It is. I've only had one call so far. Somebody got my cell phone number and called me today, and it was about housing. So we had a conversation, and like I said, I don't have processes yet for being able to respond, but just even putting contact information in a spreadsheet and as a follow-up for later. So I know housing is a big concern. So yes, I share that, and we'll dig into that some more too, because I think there's a lot to uncover there. We have a big province geographically. It's not just within Winnipeg that the Seniors Advocate will be looking at. So I'm interested to learn what those housing issues are throughout the province.
Leanne Caron is the new provincial seniors advocate, the first the province's first independent advocate for seniors. Leanne, you have a framework you have to work in. Are your legal powers enough for you to be able to do what you want to do?
Sorry, legal powers I don't know about legal powers. That's my, what I'm mandated to do is laid out in the Act. And I think once the team is built, we'll be able to have what we need to do that work. So I'm not concerned about that. It's just around building it up in a way that is that does the job that we need to do. And I don't want to wait too long, but I also don't want to go too fast. So kind of striking that balance is important.
Why do you think Manitobans should care about the work that you and your office will be doing?
Well, I think they already do care. There's been a lot of work that has been done around advocating for seniors prior to this position. And I think having somebody in a position that can make recommendations and has a little more power is going to help amplify those voices that have already been present here. So I think it's important because it complements the work that's already being done and can bring it forward a little more.
I really look forward to speaking with you when it's not your day one and you've had a chance to figure out those processes that you described. Leanne, thank you for the time today and take good care.
Yeah, thank you.
Leanne Caron, the new provincial seniors advocate. She is the first independent advocate for seniors in our province. She was speaking on Up to Speed yesterday.
Poor Terry O'Reilly. He's come down with his annual case of brand envy. Our host is jealous of a Madam's Empire of Wax. He's envious of a trademarked ice cream curl.
The cone with the curl on top.
And he's green about Goldfinger. Brand envy on Under the Influence with Terry O'Reilly. Thursday morning at 11:30, 3:30 p.m. in Newfoundland. And on demand on CBC Listen.
Speaking of CBC Listen and here on CBC Radio 1, Marjorie House joining us now for a look at what to expect on our Radio Noon call-in today. Good morning.
Good morning, Faith. Well, I'm going to ask you this because this is our call-in today. What was your favorite toy growing up?
Oh, okay. So I don't remember my favorite toy growing up,
okay,
but I do have this...
That is so cute. It's a banana.
It's a little banana. One has a smiley face, and then the other has a not so smiley face.
Oh, no.
So if you're on YouTube, you can see this. / you'll see it later. Not my childhood toy, but I am a child forever, so I always have toys like this around.
Oh, that's so cute.
Do you have one?
My Cabbage Patch doll.
Okay, that's a good toy.
Yeah, she had pink hair. She was so cute. My favorite growing up. We're talking about favorite toys because there were 3 toys that were recently inducted into the National Toy Hall of Fame. And of course, the holiday season is coming up. So of course, there's a lot of talk about what you're going to get if you have a little one in your life. So we're asking you on the call-in today, what's your favorite toy? Give us a call on Radio Noon. Join the conversation after 12:30.
It's going to be so much fun. All right, thanks very much.
Thanks, Faith.
That's Marjorie House, host of Radio Noon. It'll be on from 12 to 1 o'clock. But of course, the call-in portion is just after the 12:30 news. I'm Faith Fundal in for Marcy Marcusa here on Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Listen app. Hello as well to the folks watching us on our CBC Manitoba YouTube stream. We'll give you a full look at your forecast coming up here on the program. Stay tuned, though. The news is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it's sunny. It's 0 right now. We're warming up. It's going to be another beautiful November day, a high of 6. A national advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and their families says she is deeply concerned about Sean Lamb's upcoming release from prison. Lamb admitted to the 2012 deaths of Carolyn Sinclair and Lorna Blacksmith. He was sentenced to 20 years minus time served. This month, the Parole Board of Canada granted the 66-year-old statutory release, but he must live at least 6 months in a halfway house or psychiatric facility. Hilda Anderson-Piers at the National Family Survivors Circle says Canada must do more to protect vulnerable Indigenous people.
When we're looking at the vulnerabilities of Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit and gender diverse people in our communities, we have an obligation to keep them safe from predators like Sean Lamb.
By law, offenders who have served 2/3 of a fixed-length sentence must be released from prison under supervision, although it can be denied in some circumstances. Those hoping to get a free ride on a Winnipeg bus may have to find another way to get around. The city's been stepping up efforts to combat bus fare evasion, since September. And the city says the crackdown has led to nearly 5,000 would-be riders denied in just over 2 months. Derek Hanley at the ATU Local 1505 says the public knows the free ride's over.
People need to know there's new sheriffs in town and that they're going to be enforcing this policy going forward, which is a fair policy. And the city will start to see the difference in revenue coming in through the transit service that they haven't in, 15 plus years.
Hanley says the union hopes the city continues its enforcement campaign, confronting a long-standing issue that puts drivers and passengers' safety at risk and leads to millions in annual losses. The city of Winnipeg says fare evasion costs between $7 million and $10 million every year. The owner of an inland port in southern Manitoba wants to know why the province provided an $18 million grant to a potential competitor. Rael Tetro owns Mid-Canada Transload Services near L'Atelier. It ships Manitoba commodities around the world. Tetro said he was flabbergasted to learn this summer the former PC government provided a grant to assemble land and conduct studies for a rail port in the arm of Richot.
Government should stay in where government belongs. Social programs, infrastructure, new highways, healthcare, education, that's where government should be. And we pay tax dollars so they can do that, not to start up a business from nothing and compete against us. That's not government's job.
The grant was issued by the former PC government right before the 2023 election. The NDP government is still reviewing the grant to determine how it might affect existing businesses. Some people in the 500 block of William Avenue have been forced out of their homes as fire crews have been dousing flames in a vacant house. That fire started just after 11:30 last night, and while the fire is now out, crews are still on the scene watching for hot spots, and once conditions allow, the city says it will assess whether the house will be torn down. For now, William is closed between Juneau and Kate. A homegrown Winnipeg hockey player is excited to play in her hometown as part of the Professional Women's Hockey League. The PWHL Takeover Tour is coming to Winnipeg in 2026. Logan Angers is a backup goalie for the Ottawa Charge. That team is going to play the Montreal Victoire at Canada Life Centre in March. Angers grew up as a fan of the Winnipeg Jets and says it's going to be surreal to be on the same ice as her heroes.
The first time we even step on the ice for a practice in Winnipeg, it's going to be like, man, yeah, this is where I've grown up watching the NHL, and now I get to be a part of it. And it's going to be really awesome.
Andrew says growing up, she never believed she could make a living playing hockey. She says it's a dream to be able to play for the PWHL. Well, Grey Cup week's underway, and if you did not snag tickets to the big game before it sold out, don't worry, there's still lots of ways to celebrate, like concerts or parties at RBC Convention Centre. For some visitors, Blue Bombers President Wade Miller says the Manitoba social experience starts as soon as they get here.
When visitors from out of town, when they arrive at the airport, we're going to greet them with a social. We got an arrival social when they arrive, got a little charcuterie board, which is like what you would get at the socials, and then all the information about the great Grey Cup week that's coming up.
One of the other main events is a free street festival starting today on Spence Street near the University of Winnipeg, where you can play interactive games, enjoy live music, even try your hand at some football drills like passing and tackling. You can find more Manitoba news at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
That's Heather Wells from your CBC Winnipeg local news desk. Corey Funk has a last look at the commute.
It really is just that section of William Avenue that we just heard about in the news that's been an issue all morning. Just as a reminder, that is William Avenue between Juneau Street and Kate Street, closed all morning and possibly even into the afternoon.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Abby Ediemi.
Sunshine in the southern parts of the province, and we're looking at snow in Churchill at this time. A system coming your way for Friday into Saturday. We're seeing the south warm up to 6 degrees, and up north, we're going to see temperatures just stay around -2 for today.
All right. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And thanks to our show producers and associate producers, Sierra Sanders, May McKillop, Sofia Peralta-Baron, and Donna Carrero. On behalf of the newsroom team, Heather Wells, Megan Ketchison, Darren Bernhardt, and Alana Cole. And of course, our InfoRad crew, Corey Funk, Abby Ediemi, and Darren Morash. Tune into Radio Noon with host Marjorie Dowhouse and on Up to Speed this afternoon with Chloe Friesen. Mag-ingat po kayo and take good care. Nelly Gonzalez is our show producer, and Leif Larson is our senior producer of audio. The Current is standing by. Stay tuned.